line screaming like a siren at night. Red and blue shouting, nobody's right. Smoke in the streets, truth under attack. Everybody's loud, nobody's got facts. Feeds keep scrolling, nerves stay tight. Matchsticks flicked in the dead of night. They sell fear, cheap package the lies, while the clock keeps ticking, empires on fire. Can't sit quiet while the world's on edge. Lines in the sand, standing on the ledge. No script, no leash, no polish, quiet. Just a voice in the dark and a spark to the wire. This is and I'll bring the fire. Gonna light it higher. No filter, no fear, I say it raw. Strike the match, let it burn through the fog. This is and I'll bring the fire. And I'll bring the fire. Everybody's selling truth like a brand, buying opinions they don't understand. Talking in circles, screaming online. Keyboard courage, borrowed spines. Yeah, power plays dressed up as peace. Same old wolves with different teeth. But silence is loud when the house is burning. And the fuse is short, yeah, it's still learning. I don't dance for the left or the right. I stand in the heat, I stand in the fight. No strings, no chains, no manufactured choir. Just gasoline thoughts and an open lighter. This is and I'll bring the fire. Gonna light it higher. No filter, no fear, I say it raw. Strike the match, let it burn through the fog. This is and I'll bring the fire. And I'll bring the fire. The world's on tilt, pressure climbing. Truth don't whisper, it's perfect timing. You can't cancel the smoke, you can't stop flame. Say my name when it hits, say my name. Why? Say my name. Say my fire don't ask permission. Fire don't need a side. Fire just shows up honest and exposes the lies. This is and I'll bring the fire. Truth hits harder. Burn it down till what's real survives. No smoke, no mirrors, just heat and lies. This is and I'll bring the fire. And I'll bring the fire. American fire. Strike it. Let it speak.
What's up, everybody? Happy Friday! Who's ready for the weekend? Well, it's not here yet. So I will help you bide your time and get you there because that's what I do. I do this so you don't have to. Pay attention so you don't have to. We got a fire show today, guys. I can see Donald Trump is just doing so many amazing things. Not just him, his team, what's going on in America. Great things are happening everywhere. Looks like Iran is closer than ever. Yeah, I've said it before. I get it. Okay, trolls. No, this time it's legit. Trump is in the Situation Room right now. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but this Iran thing is coming to a head. We also have massive new info on the coup that was trying to be perpetuated upon the Trump administration that Hegseth was involved in stopping. Great new research by Data Republican I'll be sharing on today's show. And then we got the Grifta report. We got a big one today, folks. It turns out Candace not only went to Russia, she not only is over there, she lied to her audience, and we actually have the lineup now where she is speaking at a conference connected to Dugin. Yeah, the info is there, the speculation, it's all playing out, plus a whole lot of other things to get to, friends. And then at the end, yeah, for those who are interested, I put together a little teaching for you guys on why I believe we're headed where we're headed from a biblical standpoint. So hope you guys stick around for that. It's going to be a little bit of a different different flair, but I think most of you will enjoy it. But first, before we get really into it, folks, hit that like, hit that subscribe, celebrate the fact we are winning, and we're going to win bigly when it's all said and done. Let me get into the chizat and say hey to some of these beautiful people watching today. We'll start on Rumble today. We got Pixel Snap, Sheath, and Aloha Patriot holding it down over there in the chat. Thanks, guys, for supporting me over there on Rumble and blowing up that chat. All three of you. But I do see you guys. Here on YouTube, we got Nick Majors, numero uno today. What's up, my friend, my moderator? ACUSA, what's up, man? It's been a bit. Bobby Girl, how you doing? Jay Tyrus, Rodney Allen, Old Sooner says, enjoyed the interview on Rich Does Politics. Thank you so much, man. I really enjoyed it. Rich and I are getting along swimmingly. So I actually recorded again with Rich yesterday afternoon with also his guest Steve Kuhn, and that will be airing probably later today or tomorrow, part one, and there's 2 parts. So I really hope you guys check that out. Steve is an awesome guy. I was really excited to get to talk to him and meet with him. We had some very healthy disagreements and working through stuff. So I think that was a fun one, and I look forward to getting that one out there. But thank you guys for watching, and please support Rich's channel as well. He's doing great work over there. Obviously much different than I. He's always interviewing, which is awesome for him, and always has pretty amazing guests on. Jesus Saved, what's going on? Marco Sanchez, Gen X MAGA. We got Miami RN, Okie Sooner, David Davis, what's up, brother? Michael Boyle, Teslin Joe, B Thies, Cass Sink, what's up? Jim Lorraine, Pat M, Cat Crazy, Rafe, K. Shui, Mark R, Smokehouse, Lisa Doxy, Tayadai, Christina, Rum Dog, Henry Perez, Truth Finder, Aloha Patriot, and so many others that I would love to read all you guys, but it would take forever. So a couple gifts already came in. Let me shout these out real quick. Mara Dobson sent us the GOAT trophy. Thank you for that, Maro. And Remington with a $5 first super chat says, is it weird Russia allegedly attacked its NATO friend in Turkey? Russians aren't stupid, but it plays well for the NATO war going. Thoughts? Oh, you're going to get my thoughts on that, so don't worry about it. It's coming, man, but that'd be jumping ahead in the show. Don't worry. I will remember your super chat and answer your question. You can bet on it, and you're not going to have to wait very long. So, all right, guys, as always, please feel free, live in the chat, talk with this awesome community, get it going, get the conversation going. Hit me up with your questions and comments. I just ask one thing, that you tag me so I can find it, because once it gets going, it goes really fast, and sometimes I miss it even with the tag. But if you the one guarantee is a super chat. So if you feel like supporting the show and being guaranteed, I'll read your question or comment. The super chat is the best way to do it. So thank you for your attention to this matter. Again, hit that like and subscribe, and let's get moving. The first thing I wanted to share, though, is just in case you're a liberal or a City of London or a deep stater or a FAGA influencer watching right now, I did want to say that I know all this winning is really hard for you. And so I just wanted to remind you of the wise words of Kamala Harris, and hopefully she can inspire you today.
You know, the election didn't turn out like we wanted it to. Certainly not as we planned for it to. The work must continue. Don't you ever let anybody take your power from you. I wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving with the ability, and to find the ability at this moment to take a moment
It never
and
gets
just
old.
reflect on all the good you have done. You know,
Oh, man. It never gets old. Kamala 28. Let's pray she is the gift that keeps on giving us. Currently, she is the she currently is the front runner for 28. So it's the gift that keeps on giving. I really, really hope they run her again. That would make me so happy. Oh man, they never learn, do they? They never learn. It makes me so happy. So I hope you're inspired there, trolls. The trolls that love to watch my show and dip in and get really angry at me. And suck. Oh man, that's your future, guys. Good luck with that one. Oh, whoo, and a whoo. All right. On that note, all right, let's get serious. Okay, so this morning we finally got an actual real life deal that's being treated seriously for once. This is pretty incredible. I'm very, listen, what have I kept telling you guys? We have 3 ways out of this. Trump gets a deal from them because the pressure ramps up. The people rise up and take over their country, or we bomb them out. Well, it looks like the deal part is finally happening. I reported the other day that the internet had turned on Iran and they were reporting that America was winning. Do not buy the fake news that this is not going our way. And this Iran agreement finally looks like something real. Here is where we're at. President Trump is now staying at the White House to work all weekend, and here are the current terms. They will open up the Strait of Hormuz and get the mines removed within the 30 days. They will lift the blockade. Iran can sell oil. No nuclear weapon agreed to by Iran. Uranium disposal and enrichment discussions begin. U.S. will discuss sanctions and monetary relief. So anybody telling you the sanctions are being lifted immediately are lying to you. Humanitarian aid and goods to Iran are being discussed. Israel-Hezbollah war ends in Lebanon. So looking for a ceasefire there. We have Trump finally reached out and talked to us about this. So here's our leader's words on this. Iran must agree they will never have a nuclear weapon or bomb. Hormuz Strait must be immediately open. No tolls for unrestricted shipping traffic in both directions. All water mines, bombs, if any, will be terminated. We have removed through detonation numerous such mines with our great underwater minesweepers. Iran will complete the immediate removal and or detonation of any mines left, which won't be many. Ships caught in the strait due to our amazing and unprecedented naval blockade will now be lifted. May start the process of heading home. Say hello to your wives, husbands, parents, and families from me, your favorite president. The enriched material, sometimes referred to as nuclear dust, which is buried deep underground, virtually collapsed mountains caused by our powerful B-2 bomber attack 11 months ago, sitting on top of it, will be unearthed by the U.S., which is agreed as the only country, along with China, with the mechanical capability of doing so. That is interesting, isn't it? China, was this part of the deal with Xi the whole time, that he was going to let them come in to remove the dust? That is very interesting, honestly. We'll see what comes of that. In close coordination, conjunction with Iran, puts the International Atomic Energy Agency and destroyed. No money will be exchanged until further notice. Other terms of far less importance have been agreed to. I'll be meeting now in the Situation Room to make a final determination. Final determination. That is key right there. So this weekend, it seems like it's make or break time. So get ready. I'm watching right now just in case we get immediate news. Now, this is going to be framed by the left and the media as a cave-in, a given, okay? This is certainly not what this is. Trump is accomplishing something major here. He's going to get everything he wants, but this is the beginning of it. This is how the Iranians save face. Did you notice that all that's happening to start is that Hormuz is going through, but the Iranians also, in order to get that opened, have to agree to no nukes. So that's already going to be there with no money exchanged. So for everybody who's going to start saying this is the Obama deal all over again, that's the key right there. No money exchanged. Everything else will be talked about. That's, at some point there'll probably be some other nations, Gulf nations, coming in with some kind of investment because Trump loves to do this. He loves to tie nations to each other economically so that they're less incentivized to fight one another. So we'll watch for that. That'll probably happen at some point in the next month or two. But already on this news, oil is down back into the 80s, which means, guys, you're going to be seeing your gas prices keep going down. I know my price is down about 20 cents in the last week. So that's good news. It's going to keep going down. It's down into the 80s. All right. It's going to keep plummeting on this news, and it'll just continue from there. But this looks like the beginning of the end, because with the Strait open, if that's agreed to, and then Trump also gets in return for that, the no nukes. Now we have leverage to enforce that. And then with the Strait open, all of a sudden, all the economic issues go away from this war. All of a sudden, the oil's flowing free. And again, this is how Iran saves face, while because they're slow walking it, while Trump actually gets what he wanted. Now, Stephen Miller, had this to say last night about where we're at and how we got here.
The Iran nuclear deal, the so-called JCPOA, Iran was on a guaranteed path to a nuclear weapon, to being the dominant power in the region, to being the richest and most militarily threatening nation in the entire Middle East, with the ability to launch ballistic and ultimately nuclear weapons to Europe and eventually the United States. Now, because of President Trump, their economy has been dismantled. Their nuclear program under Operation Midnight Hammer has been obliterated. Their entire defense industrial base has been eradicated. Their navy's at the bottom of the sea. Their air force at the bottom of the sea. Their entire leadership class has been decapitated. It is the most complete, thorough, total military thrashing in the history of armed conflict. 4 weeks and a country decimated to that degree, to that extent, and now here we are at the end of that with Iran putting on the table a complete reopening of the Strait, as has been discussed, and many other concessions that are going to be unveiled in the time to come. But again, there's no deal until there's a deal. Nothing's final until it's final. And President Trump has been clear that he reserves the option now or at any time in the future to do whatever is necessary to defend and protect America's national security.
All right, well...
So everything Stephen Miller just said, okay, is the kind of thing that everybody in the media and liberals and everybody who hates Trump has been fighting back against, that this is just not true. Iran somehow came out ahead in all this. But then again, we had the Iranians coming out online the other night, as I showed in my show, saying, no, don't listen to these people. It's amazing how this all lined up, right? The one difference because we've done this deal round and round we go, right? Deal, no deal, extension, deal, no deal, extension. We've done this about 3 or 4 times at this point. The one difference this time is that internet flicked on and the Iranians started coming out and telling us the truth about what's going on. And all of a sudden, Iran is like running to the table. It's very interesting how this is all playing out. John Solomon reports something very similar as well.
They are not trustworthy. We know that. We have 47, now almost 48 years of proof that they're not trustworthy. But they are beaten down. They are flattened. They got nothing to fight with. They put up 4 drones. We blow the hell out of them in 5 seconds. They don't have a way to beat us. They don't. All that rhetoric you heard on television is BS. They got a few missiles here and there. They can be a menace. They cannot be a significant power anymore. They know that. The Persians are very pragmatic people, all of their rhetoric aside. They are not trustworthy.
So again, out of all this, guys, everybody who is trustworthy is reporting they're obliterated, and everything worked, which means if this deal goes through and Trump's able to hold them to it, which, they're the Iranians, they might get frisky again. They might try to pull some stuff, but Trump in the ceasefire not only completely proved he could close off their economy, he also proved he could get all the Gulf states on board with him against them, which he did last weekend. And he also proved he could get China on our side. China was supposed to be Iran's greatest ally. All that happened during the ceasefire. The cornering of Iran, just the pressure was growing and growing and growing as the walls kept closing in. It's not like the ceasefire, Trump just sat around. And finally, we're getting to that point where even they're caving, which tells you, by the way, City of London's connections to IRGC and everything are exactly why, and everybody I know who's studied this like I have, including the talk I had on Rich Does Politics just last night with Steve Kuhn, everybody agrees that they were the ones putting the pressure on us, just like controlling Ukraine to keep the war going there. They're keeping that pressure on to Iran. Do not cave. We can't have you cave. Well, what just happened in the last week? Iran's starting to capitulate. Mark Carney came out yesterday and started saying, "Oh yeah, America, make America great. We're gonna loosen some of our surveillance stuff." He started talking like he's got to get along with the Trump administration. We had Rich brought this up to me the other day. We had Tony Blair coming out and starting to say some very sovereign type policies that are very America first for UK. He's starting to change his tune a little bit. City of London they realize where they're at. They're getting squeezed, and they're starting to go into survival mode in a whole nother way, which is get along to survive. I don't trust them. Neither should any of us. However, it is a sign that what Trump is doing is affecting all of them, because their words are starting to change as well. Here is another example. Look what Newt Gingrich is now saying. Now, Tom Luongo immediately signals this. It's the signal the GOP got the message last week in the primaries. Gingrich is a political win taker. Newt Gingrich is the mastermind of the Bushwing Republicans. And I actually think Newt tends to be a little more on the, like he's in between. He's in between America First and the Bushy Republicans. He kind of does his own thing, right? Most of what Newt's done is good, but then he also sides with some terrible people, whatever. That's not the point. The point is this. Newt has completely changed his messaging. He has been warning that Trump has got himself stuck. That's going to crush the midterms. He's been offering some very, very weak messaging on all this, very, very establishment Republican messaging on this. And then he's completely changed his tune this week. Listen to this, or read this message with me. After spending this week reviewing the Iranian war, I'm convinced President Trump's on the edge of a historic victory. You see how he sets this up? Oh, I actually finally took the time to read, guys, and look at everything. And wow, this is it. Okay. I was wrong. I now am convinced President Trump's doing something great. This tells you that they know he's winning. They know it's about to be over, and they want to be on the right side of history now. They're chasing the wind. Again, the primary showed MAGA stronger than ever. The primary showed Trump is the, unequivalent leader of the Republican Party, and there's no taking him down. And then the Iran war is starting to shift as well. So Newt is jumping ahead of it. He's jumping ahead of it so he can say, I saw this. I saw what President Trump's doing is great. And Newt survives another day. But he says the real breakthrough for me came. This is so funny. He's got to give you his whole process, because people are going to be like, Newt, you didn't say that this is going to be great. You were warning Trump, and now he's got to explain to you his process. The real breakthrough for me came as I reviewed President Trump's decisions and maneuvers, not from the standpoint of American unilateralism, but from the standpoint of the leader of a remarkable historic coalition, the largest coalition ever put together in the Middle East. In other words, he's saying that, guys, I was looking at this all wrong. My bad. I've opened up my eyes. This is just so much bigger than what I thought. Everyone understands Israel is an important ally. What's little discussed is the depth of support from UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, and other countries in the region. Has to be sobering for the Iranian dictatorship to realize it does not have a single ally willing to challenge the American naval blockade. And this is where Newt's actually speaking truth. See, Newt Gingrich is a brilliant man. He's a brilliant man. You can't always trust him. Okay, he's a political maneuverer. He's done some amazing things for us. I mean, if we hadn't won the House in '94, who knows what Clinton would have pulled off. So, he's done some amazing things. And that was a very conservative Congress, by the way, not a Bushy type, establishment Congress, that 94 one that he brought in. And Newt beat the Democrats after 40 years of them holding the House. So he's a genius. So when Newt is on point, he's on point, and everything he's saying here is true. Slowly, gradually, timidly, our European allies are lining up to help with the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. This is a key right here. Why are they finally lining up a little bit? Because they know this is over. You can't fight this one anymore. Get on the right side of history to survive. Live another day. A great deal of President Trump's maneuvers against Iran makes sense once he's seen as a coalition leader and not just a unilateral American president. I spent a lot of the last couple of weeks reviewing kinetic options, including winning the Battle of the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz, if necessary, using shocking and shattering level of force Nixon and Secretary Kissinger used against Hanoi and Haiphong in Christmas 72, which both leaders believe convinced the North Vietnamese to agree to a truce. If this were a unilateral American campaign, I could enthusiastically support a more aggressive kinetic campaign. However, this is where he's saying, guys, I'm a neocon. I like war, but I'm starting to see what Trump's doing, and I have to get on the right side of history here. However, it's clear it would shatter the coalition because our Arab allies are convinced Iran would still do enormous damage to their oil fields and infrastructure. Coalitions are inherently slower than unilateral campaigns. Are they, though? Because this is going to be done in about 3-4 months instead of years. I don't know about that. However, coalitions ultimately bring vastly more power to the fight. I'm as frustrated as everyone else by the pace of talking with the dictatorship, but having reviewed the correlation of forces options available to the coalition on one side, the Iranian religiously motivated dictatorship on the other, I'm prepared to assert Trump's coalition leadership, something none of his critics want to acknowledge, is within reach of an enormous historic victory. Huh? Hey, Newt, if you've been watching my show, I've been saying this since week 1 of the conflict. I've been saying it since week 1. If Trump pulls this off, this will go down as one of the greatest military offensive maneuvers in history because it is all-encompassing, wiped them out in the beginning, hold on at the end, don't get us stuck, end up with a deal that restructures the global economy, ends the illusion we had of NATO, the illusion we had of China. It forced us into better agreements. It unleashes oil, broke up OPEC. I mean, the results of this go on and on and on, the positive results. Newt, you should be watching my show, bro. Listen, man. Watch my show. Newt's never going to watch my show. But, you know, score 1 for me again, guys. I get to be right again. I don't like to brag too much, but, you know, is it bragging if you're right? I don't know. But Newt's on my side now, and that, you know, that feels good. If the Iranian dictatorship ultimately proves it's hopelessly committed to a suicidal position, plenty of time for kinetic campaign of power and effectiveness, as Trump has already shown. Either way, we're on the verge of astonishing victory for our values in a safer Middle East. Yeah, thanks, Newt. Thanks, Newt. You know how like hard it is sometimes just like actually putting the pieces together. And again, it's not hard, guys. If you trust Donald Trump, you can see what he's doing. If you trust Donald Trump, you're going to be right 95% of the time. All right? It's just the facts. It's not hard. I'm not a super genius over here. You know, I'm just smart enough to realize that Trump is the right guy. He's doing the right things. I believe he's got God on his side, so a lot of these things keep turning out in impossible situations. So, you know, that's what makes it so easy. Now, so with Iran on the verge of something historic happening, and maybe, truly maybe, we're getting it to the end here. I get to say I told you so again. Todd Blanche now reveals the Trump admin will get now indicted former Cuban leader Raul Castro onto U.S. soil. Listen to this.
For Mr. Castro, like anybody that's indicted outside this country, which we do all the time, the goal of the indictment isn't just the paper it's printed on. It's to bring the person charged into this country in a court of law and have them face justice. And how we do that, I mean, Maduro is an extreme example that happened on January 1st. But how we do that normally is extradition. It's working with our international partners. And so I said this the day of the indictment when we unsealed the indictment, but we didn't do this for a show indictment. We did this because we really need Castro here to face charges. He was indicted again by a grand jury in Miami, and that's where he should be tried. And we're going to do everything we can to get him here. For Mr. Castro.
Did you hear that? So when they announced this indictment earlier this week, last week, I can't remember exactly when it was, you know, it was so clear that this is the setup to do the Venezuela deal with Cuba. That's what we're going to do. The setup is now there. Now we can get them out of there. And Cuba falls into place. This is the exact same playbook, and Todd Blanche just told us that. So Cuba is going to be the fun thing they do. They swing by, knock it out, I'm telling you guys, before the midterms, this is going to happen the next couple of months. Before the midterms, Cuba's going to be in line. It's going to be a whole new country, which is going to be incredible. Cuban Americans are going to be going nuts. Latino Americans are going to be stoked. That socialist communist dictatorship will be over. We're going to have Iran cleaned up. Venezuela is going to be pumping oil. The cartels are going to be blitzed. Welcome to the New World Order. It's a beautiful place to be. It's a beautiful place to be because we are destroying globalism. We're destroying globalism and communism at the same time, especially in our hemisphere. Obviously, we're not taking out China yet, that kind of thing. That's going to take time. That'll probably collapse on its own volition down the road. But the point is, man, it's incredible what they're doing here. Now, the globalists, because they're cornered, because they're in trouble, because they can see the writing on the wall, what Trump's pulling off, they're trying to get things pushed up with Russia. They're trying to escalate. So there's a drone story right now where these drones went into Romania, Poland, etc., recently into Romania. And the EU and NATO are starting to get up in arms. And we have Medvedev come out and say the EU is now directly, your leaders are trying to get into war with Russia. What are they trying to do, guys? This is what they always try to do. Escalate war. Because if they can force us into a war, if they can get a World War III going, that's going to be a way where they can sort of still hold on to some power. They can keep a coalition together. They can get a good bunch of money in, and it buys them time. Now, Trump's not going to let this happen because Trump and Putin are talking now. Trump's not going to let this escalate, but they're trying, and that's the point. See, they're giving up on Iran. They're saying this one's over. We have to let it go. Whatever we have left in Iran, maybe we can get back, built up in Turkey. But we cannot let Ukraine and Russia end. It's our last major conflict we have going on. It's where we're money laundering. It's where we can't let Ukraine fall. They're getting desperate, and so they're starting to try to ramp this up. Well, Putin came out, even though being accused of all these drone stuff. Putin says, I just heard about this. No one can tell about the origin of the drone. So now it's the question of who do we trust? City of London or Vladimir Putin? If you'd asked me 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, it would have been an easy answer. Oh, yeah, Europe, man, Putin, bad dude. Back when I was a psyoped fool who had no idea of how the world was actually working, who had no idea where the deep state came from, who still bought into the fact that Putin was, he was trying to bring back the Soviet Union as an ex-KGB guy, before I understood who Putin really is. And that's not saying Putin's a good guy. It's not saying somebody we can completely trust. But I'll tell you this, Putin cares about his country, and he cares about his country a lot more than the globalists do, about how they care about us or anything. And to me, it's down with City of London. And then if we got any other enemies, we'll deal with them then. City of London has affected my life, your life, through the financial system, through the globalist push, the globalism push that has killed our middle class. They've affected you way more than Vladimir Putin has. They've been the ones controlling Obama, Bush, Clinton, so many of our leaders. So for me, this isn't a hard question. When it comes to who do I trust more, if I got to compare the two, it's going to be Putin over the word of Europe. And I have a feeling Trump does too. But this is, again, watch carefully, because they're going to try to escalate this, because Trump, after Iran is done, which again could be this weekend based on what we're seeing, once Iran is finished, it's time to end Russia-Ukraine. And then it's Cuba and the cartels. And I don't know what else is out there, but all of it is going to make City of London weaker than it's ever been before. And they are very panicked about that, which means better times ahead for us, folks. Much better times ahead. All right, guys, if you don't mind, hit that like, hit that subscribe. I appreciate you watching. Again, if you want to support the channel, you can get in the description. Click the Patreon link. We'll take you to the membership. It'll give you a free month Free month to be in the Discord, free month to check out the members only content and see if you want to stay and support the channel afterwards. Okay, let me go through and make sure I don't miss anything here. I saw a couple super chats come in. Wyatt Earp with the $10 super chat says, I missed yesterday, but check out Ron Wyatt's historical research for biblical research. He discovered the Ark decades ago. Listen, I never said the Ark wasn't discovered before. I just said that the highlighting of it now is very interesting, and the stories coming out about it now are a little different. That's all I was saying, and I think that's what's important, not the fact that it was discovered. I understand that, okay? I've been in the Christian world my whole life. I do understand that, and so, but it's not about Ron Wyatt right now. That was not the point. So yes, kudos to him, but that wasn't the focus of my section the other day. But thank you for the $10 donation, Wyatt, and I appreciate you for supporting the channel. Remington with the $5 super chat. Thank you, sir. It says, we still need Greenland, especially after NATO denying us airspace, our bases. Can we visit this in a future podcast? I've talked about Greenland many times before when it was in the news. I believe Trump already made that deal and is satisfied with that deal. There's been stuff going on in Greenland. We are getting more access to the rare earth materials. We are getting access to bases there. I believe the Greenland thing's done. We just haven't made it officially American territory, but I think for all intents and purposes, Trump got everything he wanted out of that. And I think we're seeing that play out. Or he'll revisit it later. We'll see. But let's see. Wyatt says, I joined Patreon, can't figure out how to find the Discord. Would you make sure that you joined the actual, not the free. There's a free membership where you get like notifications and stuff. Then there's the actual real membership, which you have to like join as if you're paying for something, but you get a free month. It's like joining Netflix, right? You get the free 7-day trial, but you still have to go through the processes if you're going to pay for it. So make sure you're in the right membership first. And then if you are, the access to Discord is in the first pinned post. Katie Cat with the $20 super chat says, have a great weekend. God bless you, Katie Cat. Thank you so much for your continued support of the channel. In effect, Trump did get Greenland. Yes, that's true, Moody. I believe he did. Absolutely. And for all intents and purposes, we got what we needed. And it worked out even better, because think about it this way. Now we don't have to take on all those people who get all those Belgian benefits, which is, healthcare and, they live like socialists. So they get all their socialist benefits. We don't have to pay for them and take care of them. They can still, or is it Belgium, Norway? I can't remember which country. Denmark. I always mix up all those countries. I believe it's Denmark. But anyways, they are still under Denmark. They still get all those benefits. They get to live the way they want, but we have full access to Greenland as we want. So I think it's a better way. How about Jill Biden? What about her? She's a liar. She's a cheat. She's saying stupid stuff. She's trying to sell a book. The Biden family is trying to cover themselves and rewrite their history, like Hunter Biden going on Candace. It's not going to work. But they are pretty desperate because it was such a debacle and disaster for their family coming out of that presidency. And they're trying to find a way to keep the money flowing. That's all. There's nothing else to say about it. That's why I didn't do a piece on it. I just think that Jill Biden thing, it's not a real story. It's just a story that, the media is going to push because it's saucy, but there's no real substance to it. She's just lying. She's just lying about her husband again. So, big surprise there. Let's see here. Did I see the news story today showing Biden and men funded anti-Israel protests? No, I didn't. That's interesting. Yeah, if they release the Her tapes, how will they explain that? Well, that's the other thing. They want to get ahead of it because they're suing to block the release of those tapes, and then they're trying to get ahead of it if it does come out, So they're not smart, but they're clever. I say that a lot, Super chat from Wyatt again says, I didn't say you said anything. I was pointing out Ron, paid to do so because his family matters to me. Oh, is that your family? Okay. Well, God bless you, Wyatt. I really appreciate you, and we'll get you into that Discord. Thank you for your support, and yes, props to, was it your uncle, your father? props to him for discovering that as your family. That's awesome. And yeah, great to him. And I'll shout it out. I'll shout him out. Nick Majors with $5 super chat says this Trump and Putin relationship is key to ending this war. I mean, it's key to a lot. It's key to it's key to the world that Trump is shaping. All right, he's ending the globalists. Now, I'm going to talk about this at the end here, at the end of today's show for those sticking around. I'm actually going to do a little bit of a Bible teaching because, one of the beliefs is that we're entering into a one world government at some point, when I actually think the opposite's happening. We're ending that world system, and that's what God's doing right now is like we're ending this globalist interconnected system so that countries can become more sovereign again, interconnected through economics and trade and stuff. But we're heading into a season of sovereignty. There's just no denying that at this point. Now, you can argue that, okay, you'd still have your belief about one world government or whatever if you want. It's just getting pushed way into the future. Okay, with what Trump's doing, it's going to take them 100 years to recover from this, maybe longer if it ever happens. All right, which we can all argue with. It's not worth arguing with. But the point is that Trump is ending that globalist cabal right now, the one that they were working on, which was very clearly trying to get us all under this system, but it's being broken, and there is no argument to that it's being broken. The question is, you can argue over the future, whatever, that's fine. But right now, it's very clear. We are heading into a time of sovereignty, a time of nations within their border, rediscovering their culture, fighting for their futures. Like Trump is establishing that here in America, we are starting here. It will spread. It's going to spread. Many Latin American countries are starting to do this. We're starting to see some European countries fight back, Asian countries, obviously the Middle Eastern countries. So we're starting to see it spread, okay? And it's only going to get there. Now, we got people like Observer here who says, you're a fool if you think Trump's not one of them. No, you're an idiot for thinking he's one of them. Why do they all hate him, dude? Yeah, come on. Oh, this makes sense. Yeah, think about that. Think about how Trump is obviously one of them, and they all hate him so much, and their economies are being crushed as America's is soaring. Like, you have to be a retard to think he's one of them, which, you must be. Because if you come in here and call me a fool for thinking that, when I do this content every day and I show the receipts and I break down the evidence and you're out there still spinning this nonsense, you're a retard. I'm just telling you like you are. Like, you're an idiot. And we can all see what they're doing, but you can go on to another show, man. Go listen to your other idiots. Go listen to Candace Owens. I'm sure you really buy her nonsense, and enjoy it. Enjoy being lied to, and enjoy always being wrong your entire life, because that sounds like fun. You should go, but you don't need to be here. This is obviously the wrong place for you. Let's see here. Anything else before we go? By the way, the next segment is the Grifta Report. So we're going to be breaking down all these liars that Observer's obviously listening to. So, and we'll break that down because there's a lot of craziness coming out of that. They are crashing out hard over there. Let's see. George Papa Nicola asks, is it true Donald Trump's son who got married to Jeffrey Epstein's banker's daughter? Tell me this is fake. Well, I don't know if it's fake. I haven't heard that. But I'll tell you that if it's true, I'll tell you that that sounds to me like, first of all, that's playing the guilt by association game, which is just, let me go back to your post. So at the end of Spaceballs, the brilliant Spaceballs, when Dark Helmet looks at our hero and says, before we do this, I must tell you, I am your father's brother's sister's mother's former roommate. And the guy's like, well, what does that make us? He says, absolutely nothing, which is what you're about to become. So when you tell me that Donald Trump's son married Jeffrey Epstein's banker's daughter, I'm like, well, what does that make us? Absolutely nothing. It doesn't mean anything, even if it's true. These people all walk in the same circles. It's like that doesn't mean anything. Now, if you were like, it's Jeffrey Epstein's daughter, or if it's, Jeffrey Epstein's best friend, yeah, I'd be like, oh yeah, red flag. But if you're like, it's his banker's daughter, I'm like, okay, even if it's true, that's a nothing story. So, so I just like, and I'm not making fun of you. I'm just saying that the fact people make that into a story, that's clearly just like, we got nothing to talk about today. Let's try to make Trump look bad. Oh, okay. Excuse me. All right, let's get. Speaking of the grifters who make those into stories, let's get into it. Okay, so excuse me, real quick. Oh, got a little bit of that phlegm right there. Okay, so Candace Owens, as we talked about earlier this week, is going to Russia. She said, "Oh, we're going to Russia because as a Christian, I want to see the buildings, and my husband wants to go fishing." But we all know that Alexander Dugin's in Russia, because you just don't go to Russia just to go to Russia. Very few people do that, especially in this time and age where Russia's at war with Ukraine. That just doesn't make sense. Like, the whole Western world is supposed to be anti-Russia right now. And the influencers have been very anti-Russia. These are the people all supporting the Ukraine war. So, but Candace announces she's going. And so what do we say? We say, oh, wow, well, makes kind of sense that maybe she's meeting with Dugin. Well, of course, she's like, no, that's not at all what I'm doing. Well, now we found out she is going to be a speaker at a conference over there, which is connected to Dugin people. Check this out. So the moderator of this conference, Maria Sittel, chairperson, Union of Women of Russia, women of the Civic Chamber of the Russian Federation, and then all these other people. And then look at this. Hey, Candace Owens, anchor, host of the Candace podcast. Wow. That's pretty interesting, isn't it? Well, with all this going on, what do we have last week? They announced they're going after looking in the foreign influence on these people. Here's Candace, looking like she's maybe getting a little nervous.
Happy 6 million subscribers. We did it. I'm so proud. I really am. Without a single dollar spent on advertising. $0. That's actually just an incredible feat. No outside investors, no secret funding from foreign countries, no influencers, influential campaigns. Although there were a lot of influencers that were against us. Essentially, the entire Western media apparatus has been attacking us incessantly. They said it couldn't be done, right? Everybody has to sell out to somebody. That's been the general idea. No one makes it in this town without pledging allegiance to Israel every day. Happy 6 million.
So Candace has to make a whole speech about how she has no backing, no advertising. The whole media is against her. I find that hilarious, by the way. I feel like many people. What did we just see the Bulwark say yesterday? Candace Owens is being whispered about for president. She's being lionized. The Megyn Kelly speaking well of her. Tucker Carlson speaking well of her. I mean, really? Like, this is not. Guess who she had on yesterday before she left to Russia? Anna Kasparian of the Young Turks. And they're just sitting around chumming it up, bashing on Israel, hating Israel, talking about how pro-life conservatives are terrible people. Yeah, it was a fascinating thing. This is crazy. This woman is insane. She's just absolutely lying. But funny, she puts out this message right as people are looking into her, right before she goes to Russia. I don't know. That's kind of interesting. Oh, and then we got Jackson Hinkle, who most of you don't know who Jackson Hinkle is, and why would you? But he's huge on X, 3.8 million followers. He's got his own, he's got quite the following. And what does he have to come out with yesterday? Candace Owens accused of being a Russian agent by Loomer and Fuentes. Yeah, he runs a whole show defending Candace. But Candace, I thought the whole Western establishment of media was against you. It's funny how that doesn't add up. It never adds up with Candace because all she does is lie. She is awful. Well, joining her in Russia, just to show you how awful she is, look who's joining her. We have, I'll just read it because the post is kind of weird. Andrei Bezrukov, who was arrested as a deep cover Russian spy in the U.S. in 2010. Interesting. Oh, and Scott Ritter. Yes, Scott Ritter, the convicted pedophile who is out there as a military expert, who we laughed at on my show 2 months ago for coming out and telling everybody that Iran's got the super duper secret weapons and Trump has no idea what he's getting into and they're going to bomb the crap out of us. Iran is such a sleeping giant. You have no idea what you have unleashed, Donald Trump. This guy is grifter to the max. Scott Ritter, former UN inspector and convicted pedophile under FBI investigation for illegally acting as a foreign agent of Russia. Constantly appears on anti-American media platforms, declare victory is imminent for Russia, Iran, Hamas, and Hezbollah. Roots for the U.S., Israel, and West to be defeated. Just like Alexander Dugin. Huh? Oh, that's funny. How's that work? That's amazing. Huh? Hey, you kind of once you see it, you can't unsee it, huh, folks? Isn't that crazy? During one of the trips to Russia, he gave a rousing speech for Russian Chechen troops waging war in Ukraine. The Chechens are led by pro-Putin Islamist Ramzan Kadyrov. The devoutly Christian Putin and Russian Orthodox Church Moscow endorse, and now this is just not true of Putin, but see, a lot of these people get caught up in the whole Putin is always guilty by association as well. There's a faction within Russia that's actually working with the globalists. But, we'll talk about that another day, just like I spoke on Dugin. Now, speaking of the Dugin influence, these people all run off to Russia. Well, here's Stu Peters. Is anybody still listening to Stu Peters? What's wrong with you? This guy's a total fraud. But again, just to show you, he has Dugin on his show, just to show you how Dugin is influencing all of them. All of them. Every single one of these MAGA pro-Trump influencers who've now completely swapped over, who act as if they're the true MAGA, they're the true America First. Why is Dugin supporting all of them? Why are they all having Dugin on their show? Why are they going to Russia to meet with Dugin? I think it makes sense once you look at it from this perspective. I don't know. But it just gets crazier and crazier. Now, we got Megyn Kelly, who went on Sean Ryan. Because, good old Sean Ryan. I have a lot of people, whenever I show Sean Ryan stuff, they just can't believe it. I have people that get mad at me. Sean Ryan's a patriot. You don't know what you're talking about. I watch his show all the time. It's like, well, have you looked at his social media posts? Because he's spouting exactly what these people are spouting. Well, he has Megyn Kelly on, and they're spouting the whole grift about Joe Kent. And listen to this.
I admire Joe Kent, and I'm grateful that he made a point when he left of saying why. But I personally would much rather have him on the inside. I don't know what Joe Kent has leaked and hasn't leaked. He's never leaked to me. He told me he's never leaked. But I would say it's not bad to have people in those positions in a position where they could potentially get something out to the media, something that's knowledgeable and informed and real.
What?
So that we can pursue avenues that the administration won't. That's how the media and the government has worked synergistically since the dawn of time.
What? So she's admitting that if Joe Kent's a leaker, it's better for him to be in there. It's great to leak out state secrets. It's great to... Why is it always the bad people, the bad administrations who leak the most? You ever wonder about that? The Obama administration leaked like crazy. The Biden administration leaked like crazy. The Bush administration. I mean, just look throughout our history. The deep state are the ones who like to leak the most because they're not actually working on our behalf. They're not actually trying to win anything other than their dominance. They want the people to hate their government. They want the people to distrust. They want the people to believe like the narratives about our well, some of it is true. Don't get me wrong. I'm not defending everything our government's done. Okay. And there's been some cases where you could say it's been heroic. I'm not the person who says our government should never be leaked on, but it is without a doubt factual that the worst administrations leak the most. They do it on purpose because they're playing a game with the media. And usually what the bad administrations do, they leak in order to get the media on their side, producing narratives so that they can get away with what they want to do. That's why they usually leak. And the media is used to getting all that. And they're also used to having subversives in a government when it is finally somebody fighting for us, like Donald Trump. They like to get the subversives who will leak so that the media can then push the narrative forward to hurt the Trump administration ahead of what they're doing, to put a narrative on it before the Trump administration gets to do what it does. This happened all the time in the first Trump administration, a lot. And in this term, the media is very mad they're not getting that info because without it, they're nothing. When the media can't, control narratives, they have no real power anymore, at least not in the way they used to. There's a new media that's actually reporting facts and actually like giving real understanding of what's going on to the best of our ability. That media is wonderful and rising, and there's a few good ones out there, but the old media, they got their whole grift off getting this information fed to them. And now they're mad. They're big mad about it. And to them, Joe Kent's a hero because he was leaking. Now, Megan says she never leaked to him. Fine. Or to her. Fine. Whatever. It doesn't matter. I can almost guarantee you he was leaking to Tucker. And I feel like that is we don't have the smoking gun on that, but I think it's pretty obvious. Now, Buzz Patterson put this out. So Massey and MTG are hanging out in Costa Rica. Yeah. So what's Massey, that principled congressman, his first rule of order after getting his butt whooped? He runs off to another country to go fishing and swimming with Marjorie Taylor Greene in her $5 million Costa Rican mansion. That's America first, baby. What's more America first than that? Now, the funniest thing is Buzz saying they're banging each other, aren't they? Well, they both are known to have sordid sexual pasts, to say the least. But, who knows? But I do think it's funny. Now, Massey, some stuff is coming out about Massey that's really interesting. This old post surfaced. And Massey, he's big mad about people calling out his funding, which I'm going to show you in a minute. But, he, despite being linked to all these Iranians, despite being linked to Jeff Yass, well, someone else linked him to a Rockefeller. Rockefeller heir George O'Neill, known publicly from the Russia hoax, donated to Thomas Massey. We have him right here. You can see George O'Neill, Rockefeller heir, gun nut, serial abuser of women and children, sexual deviant, big fan of Putin. I always got to put that in there. Well, look at this. He also present at this planning, right-wing scion and Rockefeller heir George O'Neill hosted private dinner at the National Prayer Breakfast in D.C., attended by Erickson and Butina's boss, Russian central bank head Alexander Torshin. Also present, former and current Russian officials, U.S. Republicans and conservatives, including 2 congressmen, Dana Rohrabacher of California and Thomas Massey of Kentucky. This goes all the way back to, what was this, 2017? And then we have O'Neill. Lots of contributions right here. These are all contributions to one Thomas Massey. Yeah, it just keeps on line for him, this principled man. None of us are supposed to think otherwise of. And Massey is big mad about his funds getting out there. See, here's what I've shown you guys before, all the donations from this Marouk family. And, you got all the leftists that they donated to, Ilhan Omar, et cetera, et cetera. And Massey's finally responding. Oh, wow, a family that donates to candidates opposed to genocide in Gaza. That's really it, huh, Massey? Massey's he's really trying to save his career Even though he lost his House seat, he's already applied to run in 2028. So got to keep that funding going. And now now that he knows he's out, he's really going into cleanup mode. He's terrified that this stuff is out there, and he's trying to reframe it. Unfortunately, Massey, what you just did was even worse. You admitted you're getting the funds from these people. And when you're getting the funds from the same people as the squad, yeah, that doesn't look good no matter how you frame it, my friend. It just doesn't. So this is a great post breaking down a lot of what's going on right now with all these people. So map the network. You'll find vast and didn't start in 26. For over a decade, this is about the FAGA influencers, fake MAGA. For over a decade, this ecosystem consistently pushed narratives and policies aligned with Russian geopolitical interests. I would say globalists, but some people just haven't finally gotten to that next level yet, right? It took me a while. I used to see the surface level stuff a lot easier, but once you see the City of London system and all of it and how they use the Russian propaganda part, like Russia with Trump, and how they have navigated all that, it makes, you can always say like, oh no, this is all going back to City of London. But anyways, this is where a lot of people still are. Doesn't mean this is a bad post though. While packaging as liberty, anti-war, anti-establishment politics, people LARPing as libertarian constitutionalists, and this is one of the big tells, it's City of London. Libertarian as an ideology was created by MI6 in the early 1900s. Constitutionalists, while peddling anti-American state-sponsored propaganda, Ron Paul and Paul Institute, look into the board, Massey, Alex Jones, Dugan, RT, Maria Butina, Patrick Byrne. Now that's an interesting one. And we'll have to have a discussion about Patrick Byrne at some point. Alex Jones platforming Ron Paul for 2 decades. RT has been cheerleading Ron Paul for more than a decade. Russian agent Maria Butina infiltrated NRA political circles. Massey was there. Patrick Byrne admitted former CIA had a relationship with her. For funsies, here's Massey's voting record: voted against Russia's sanctions, lone House vote against rejecting Crimea annexation, vote against Ukraine sovereignty resolutions, opposed NATO expansion, defended Butina after arrest. Now again, we'll get into all that at our time. If you've been watching my show long enough, you can navigate all this stuff. But the point is that it's not just Russia, okay? It's also the anti-American stuff. All right, the anti-Trump stuff. I don't care if they're being blackmailed. I don't care if they're sold out for money. I don't care if they're soulless and simply hate America. My grandfathers didn't fight wars protecting the U.S. from evil for me to sit back and hand everything. So, but here's Massey, Kremlin-friendly member of the House. They're just all attached. And then here's the Rockefeller post down here. So again, it's they say Russia, I say Dugan, and I told you guys how that differentiates the other day. But regardless, it's not good for us. Now, it's getting so bad. Ian Carroll is starting to spin a different tune. But first of all, a good reminder from last year. You remember when Ian Carroll, who is one of the biggest frauds of all, went on Rogan? Well, he went on Rogan and he had a lot of stuff to say. But then he admitted to Myron Gaines that he went on Rogan to push a PSYOP. Listen to this.
Because a significant amount of the interview, you guys just talked different theories, just shooting the stuff. You guys didn't really talk about Israel or any of that other stuff until like the last 20.
We talked about Epstein a few times, kind of like glance through and back out and glance through and back out. And I think we were kind of just establishing a baseline a little bit, but also just kind of jumping around through conspiracy theories. It's not like we didn't have any discussion beforehand what we were and weren't going to talk about. It's just like any podcast. I think people have all these conspiracy theories that like podcasts are scripted and podcasts are like, and that it's like, that's not how it is at all. You literally just show up, sit down, crack a beer, and sparkling, and just start talking. Yeah. But it was during the Epstein stuff, and so it was like all of my content at the time was about Epstein, and so it was kind of obvious that we were gonna talk about Epstein at least a little bit. And we kind of held off on talking about Israel until much later, but there's like a certain point, like near the end, where he just kind of like left an open question. And I wasn't going to not talk about Israel with the opportunity there. And I intentionally tried to do it in a very like moderate and normie and kind of like balanced way that wasn't super hard in, because that's the audience and that's like the right way to do it in that setting. When you're talking to people that might have no context or very little context or very mainstream context, you want to just kind of give them a very balanced a starter pack of what's going on here, things that they can look up for themselves, things that they can corroborate and kind of get to asking their own questions. So I was super proud of how it came out. And it was wild how many like conspiracy theories and opinions and haters came out of the woodwork because of it.
Oh yeah. So interesting how he's like, I had to wait for the opportunity and then I had to get Israel in. I just thought that's interesting. It tells you how these people think. They give you little glimpses sometimes into what they're actually doing. But the point is like, we're talking about all this stuff, Epstein, everything on Rogan, and then he left the open door and I took it for Israel. It's all about seeding those narratives, folks. And he had to do it on Rogan, which is the biggest podcast audience in the world. And what's happened since then? The last year, we've had this explosion of the Israel stuff. I mean, when it's people like that pushing it, and Myron Gaines too, he's total trash. When these people are, telling you what they do, you listen. They give you glimpses. Now, Fuentes, he's been starting to call out the foreign influence on Candace and Tucker. Listen to this. We're not going to listen to this whole thing, but this is very interesting. I'll talk about it after we listen for a minute here.
We used to talk a lot more about this last year, but this is something you need to understand. I'm not saying I know for a fact that Candace is in on something or anything like that. I'm just saying this is generally true. All of these big influencers, you have to suspect that they are involved with foreign governments in some capacity.
Now, why is Nick doing this now? He's one of them. He's saying and pushing the exact same narratives these people are pushing. So why would Nick start turning on them? I mean, there's a couple of things I could think of. Number one, Nick might be jealous. They've been growing in their influence and they've been pushing him out. There might be a jealousy factor there. There also might be a usefulness factor. Nick's like, maybe he's getting word they're not as useful anymore because they're being outed. Maybe Nick got the word. Hey man, people aren't paying attention to you as much anymore. We're not funding you anymore, or we're not. And so he's going all out. The point is this is a red flag for the influencer phagosphere, that bad things are coming if they're starting to attack their own. We can't say exactly why yet, but this is the beginning of something. This is only going to keep happening. But it's very interesting. Calls out Tucker. Remember, Tucker had him on his show. Tucker gave Nick the most influence ever. And then Tucker started talking like Nick a couple months later. And then he started putting Nick throwing him under the bus. Nick has gone on Crowder. He's gone on, did he go on Sean Ryan? I can't remember. But he's been on a bunch of other shows now that brought him up bigger than ever. And now they're all fighting with each other. It's very interesting. So, Candace has dealings with John Mappin as well as Dugan. But it's, the other thing is this whole, is Farah coming back to investigate the foreign influence, and is Nick trying to get ahead of it so that they don't look at him as much? We don't know. But all I can tell you is it's not good in Fagaland. It's disintegrating. Things are getting bad for them. They keep making many mistakes. They keep showing us who they are, and the mask is off, and we're never going back. And this is a very good thing, because people like Candace Owens are the reason this stuff's starting to happen. There was a planned assassination attempt against Erica Kirk just the other day. April 26th, Facebook comment on a post about the event. This attacker said, "I know exactly where to bomb. I can't wait to be the valet for her escort." Wrote a January 26th email that said, "Death to Erica Kirk and every single speaker there. America will live on without those scum on this earth. Every Christian nationalist shall perish in the bombing, shall take place at every single Turning Point rally and event." He was supposed to attack during TPUSA's Women's Leadership Summit featuring Erica Kirk, but they caught him. They caught him planning this. This is what Candace Owens is creating, and others like her. We can all have real discussions about this stuff, but without actual proof and evidence, we're creating these kind of issues. Now, obviously, I'm never one to say, we should take out these people. I'm not accusing Candace Owens of murder, anything like that. I would never do that. I don't want anybody to get hurt. I want them to be investigated. I want them to go, to prison if they need to. I want this whole thing to be exposed if they're frauds. I want to see where their funding comes from. Absolutely. But I would never push the kind of craziness that Candace Owens does on somebody when she doesn't have the goods. That's insane. And this is the kind of stuff that's evil. And it's the left-wing tactics, guys, because then they throw out all this hate and nonsense. They build up people like this who will actually do terrible things. And then they can sit back and say, whoa, I never meant for that to happen. When the entire time, they'll just completely defame and deface people. We've had attacks on Trump, obviously. An attack recorded on J.D. Vance that they stopped in time. Russ Vogt. We have Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard, Stephen Miller, many others, all living on military bases because they can't safely live in their own homes right now. This is what they want, guys, because they're losing. And so when they're losing and they can't beat you at the ballot box, they can't beat you in the war of ideas, they get violent. And it's ramping up now, even to people like Erica Kirk. So just a reminder. But here's the other sign. Things are getting really bad for them. Ian Carroll is now starting to back up and getting away from the doomerism of conspiracies. Let's not dwell on evil. They're trying to shift narratives, guys, because they realize it's been falling apart for them. Let's listen to a minute of this.
The piece that I keep on circling on that I think is really inspirational, that I'm sort of taking to heart as like a mantra, holding with me all the time, is this shifting away from the doomerism of the pessimism of looking at all these conspiracies and looking at how fucked up the world is, just looking for optimism and good stories. I mean, every dark story has a light side, and every fucked up thing that's going on has silver linings and good truth to be found, good stories to be told.
Now, that's something I've been saying since the day I started my channel. You know, because it's natural. You can only do it naturally. You have to actually believe it to pull it off. And, you know, when a guy like this, who's been peddling this crap for 3-4 years now since he first came on the scene, out of nowhere, by the way, just came out attacking Israel, going after the Trump administration, there's no hope, anything, peddling Whitney Webb conspiracies, stole most of his work from her, and just all in line with the same people, the Fuentes types, all that kind of stuff. After all this time, now all of a sudden he's seen the light? Yeah, I don't believe it. I think what's happening is they're noticing it's falling apart for them. It's falling apart for them, and they're trying to shift the narrative now and win their way back. You see, doomerism only holds influence for so long because people get sick of it. And if you're going to be dooming, if you're going to be negative all the time, you better be right, because people get tired of being lied to all the time, and then the bad thing you predicted never happens, and you always got to make excuses for why it didn't happen. You know, 86% of things people worry about don't happen. Yeah, that's what we're witnessing here, is that the nonstop spin of how terrible the Trump administration is and how they're all the part of the globalists and the technocrats and there's just no hope and we've lied to again. It's all falling apart on them. And they're noticing it. Now they're going to try to weed their way back. At least some of them are. We have Fuentes turning against Tucker and Candace and others. We have Ian Carroll saying now he's seen the light. Yeah. Don't buy it for a second, folks. These are all doing it at the same time, making these shifts. It just, I mean, what else do you need to see? The grift is over. The grift is falling apart, and they really are looking for a new home. Meanwhile, people like me and others like me, Rich Does Politics, those who've actually been looking for solutions the whole time and seeing how it's possible to win and seeing how we can win and are winning in many times, guess what? We don't have to change. We get to keep being honest and open and forthright and just be like, we're being ourselves. I've been here for 3.5 years doing this show. There are people here watching right now who have been watching me this entire time. Every single one of them will tell you, I have never wavered. I've never changed. I've never gone back. Never said, never had to lie about a story I brought up, because you just don't have to do that when you're telling the truth and when you actually can look through the lens of hope, abundance, expectancy. And that's the only way to do it, guys. It's the only way to do it forever. Just like Rush Limbaugh taught us all. And that's why he was the king. All these doomer types, they're always the globalists. They're always on the left, or they pretend to be on the right. They always fall, and this is why, because you can only lie for so long, and then you have to have an epiphany and try to change so you can bring people back in. But we're not buying it. All right, guys. Please hit that like and subscribe. We got a couple of short segments coming up here that I think are really interesting. But yeah, let me know what you think in the chat. Let's see here. Had a super chat come in. $2 from Remington says there are tons of CCP influence money in the U.S. That is absolutely true. And ask yourself why. Why, especially now that they're noticing it and able to weed it out so quick. It means it was there the entire time they knew it. And as they knew it, they're allowing, it tells us they were allowing it, is my point. It wasn't that China was taking over, but it was being allowed because they were making money off it and they were happy to let it happen. They were all invested. See, City of London, the globalists, they were all invested in America falling. And so if they could allow China to be a part of that, they were going to do it. Russia, they were going to do it because Russia and China were very much interested in us falling apart when we were controlled by the globalists, which we were for decades. They had, we had a little couple blips here and there of better things, but they never lost their grip until Trump. And now it's all being exposed. Now Trump's dealing with China in a way that's going to keep them over there, but also keep a relationship with them. He's dealing with Russia in the same way because those are both very anti-globalist countries. They just want to be left alone and do their own thing. Sometimes that thing is not helpful for us, and that'll be worked out. I'm not saying they're good countries or I'm not saying they're good leadership, but they're not the globalists. They're not Davos, who had the world domination aspect, much different than China and Russia. And that's who was controlling us. And it's all, you can trace it all back to City of London, MI6, that financial system, all of it. That can all be traced back to the British Empire. So it's been there for hundreds of years. And you're right. So yeah, was there a lot of Chinese money here? Absolutely. There was a lot of Russian money and spies, all that. Absolutely. All of it was allowed. All of it was allowed by those in charge who were Davos, World Economic Forum types, Barack Obama, Bush, Clinton, Bush 1. I mean, all of them. Ford, Carter. Reagan wasn't, but Reagan also, he couldn't fight him. Not enough. Nixon wasn't. He was pushed out. He couldn't fight him. Johnson was, wholeheartedly. Kennedy wasn't. They killed him. Just go back. And most of our leaders, but the bigger part was they also got into the Senate. They got into the House. They control that. They got the entire Democratic Party. And then what they also got is most of our presidents. But then they got the bureaucracy. And the bureaucracy controls so much because they don't get fired in elections. They stay there unless you weed them out. And those are the people passing all the regulations, which are basically laws that we all have to abide by. Those are the people letting the fraud happen in our welfare system. Those are the people that are making it hard for small businesses to thrive and middle class to thrive. Those are the people making sure that the corporations are taking over. Wall Street gets to keep cheating. It's the bureaucrats, and that's the true deep state, which was implanted. Well, also the intelligence agencies. So those are all implanted. Those take time to weed out because those don't get corrected in an election. And those take time. So that's the true enemy. And yes, on their watch, they allowed China and Russia to degrade us, to mess with us, because China and Russia were just looking out for themselves. And they were like, hey, if America's part of the system, they're our enemy too. That's changing. That's what Trump is trying to change. Hodge twins are trash. They really are. They're awful. They are awful. Violence of Poetry says the fag influencers are trying to worm their way back into MAGA after declaring its death. They are. And they're trying to restart something too. Some of them are so dumb that they are just, first of all, none of them are coming back, but we're not going to let them. But some of them are so dumb they think they can build something else on the side. Those are like the Dave Smith types. They really think they matter so much that they're going to turn Thomas Massey into a true like champion of this America First fight. Those are, Thomas Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Dave Smith, Tucker Carlson has now put his foot down so much he can never come back. Those guys are all trying to build something else. It's crazy. Starchild says, is it real dooming or spinning of a narrative? Well, the narrative is dooming. So, I mean, it's both. It's both. Excuse me. All right. Well, let's get into a couple other things, guys. Again, if you really got some for me, tag me, and or you can do what Remington's doing and send a super chat. Thank you, Remington, for another super chat. $5 super chat. It says Canada's even worse for the CCP influence as a way to get at us. How do we deal with Canada as a foreign liability co-opted? Trump's already working on that. He's for one thing, the tariffs and the situation with Canada right now is quarantining them away from us in a lot of economic ways. So Canada is kind of being left with its own mess now. And we're starting to see Canada's numbers just came in economically. They're in a recession. Okay. First big one in a while. So it's starting to go backwards for Canada in a big way. And what Trump likes to do is he likes to force them to deal with their own problems so much that they can't do much over here anymore. They won't have the resources. Just like City of London. Look how bad Europe is doing now that this whole Iran thing's going on. They were already in a bad place. Trump tariffs them. Trump goes over there, announces globalism's over, forces them to deal with their own stuff, forces them to buy energy from us, and then he takes away their direct connection to the Middle East through Iran, how they were manipulating the shipping and the oil rates, and now the economies of Europe are crashing. And so the EU, City of London, is now, we got to fix our own problems. And that's one way you keep them out of ours. You make things so bad for them. So that's one way Trump's doing it. We won't need a wall because the stuff on Canada, the terrain is so crazy, and there is a lot of stuff up there. But they definitely need to, they're monitoring it more. I really believe that. Let's see. Yeah, they're sitting in their own crap now. That's absolutely true. What's Tucker been up to? He just keeps interviewing crazy people. Tucker should have a date with former Tucker. That'd be a fun AI project, wouldn't it? I think so. Okay. I want to get into this story about Hegseth shared by Data Republican and just show you guys kind of what they're trying to do. So, real quick, let me answer Bobby Girl's comment before I move on. She said she tagged me and says, pretty new at your channel. I was watching Scott Bessent yesterday, did some research trying to understand who he is and where he from. Did you know he had Soros connections? Absolutely. Bessent worked for Soros in the early 90s when Soros was crashing currencies. And what I think happened is, I don't think there's any way Bessent's a bad guy. I think Trump, coming into this term, vetted the crap out of people. And everything Bessent's done since coming in has been amazing. So, judge by your actions, not by what you say. Bessent has proven himself to be a true patriot. Sometimes people who hang out with the enemy learn their ways and then use it against them. And that's what I think Bessent's doing. I think Bessent learned, Soros is a genius at economic manipulation for power. And Bessent learned those methods from him. And now we have Bessent on our side. And that's what I see going on. Again, guilt by association is not a thing. Many people, end up being associated with somebody or have met somebody or worked for somebody, and it doesn't mean they're bad. The proof is in the pudding when it comes to how far up did they rise? How close did they stay with those people? It's the same as like the JD Vance Peter Thiel thing. And you can have worked for some. Tulsi Gabbard was once on the World Economic Forum's list of, bold new leaders, along with Dan Crenshaw. Well, Crenshaw stayed a globalist. Tulsi didn't. It's just like some things change. Remember, people are people. People are not static. We grow and we make choices our whole life. And people can grow, people can change. Dave says, any idea why Trump would be reviewing the peace deal in the Situation Room? Because I think it's just like, it's like a statement to the world. I'm going to the Situation Room to make the biggest decisions I'm dealing with a foreign power here. This is where war decisions are made. I think it's, Trump knows better than anybody how to manipulate the media. And I think it's kind of like a marketing move. I'm going to the Situation Room to do this. And everybody knows like, oh, that's really serious. That's what it says to me. Plus, that's like an immediate way to say like, oh, it's time to bring the generals in, stuff like that as well. All right. Okay, let's get into this. So, City of London is in panic. The left is in panic. The Democrats are panicking. The commies are panicking because what Trump is pulling off is unlike anything they ever thought would happen to him. Well, Data Republican is more proof of this. Did this amazing breakdown right now of how important Hegseth is in making sure that the Trump administration gets to keep doing what they're doing, as she found like basically a coup targeting them that Hegseth's standing between. Now listen to this. This is a very interesting thread here. She says the true reason Hegseth's being targeted is because he's standing between Trump and a coup. Hegseth named the institution, CFR Brookings General Class, in 37 seconds in a video by Liz Wheeler. Within 72 hours of his nomination, Color Revolution planning documents cite him as an insider threat. They didn't go after him because of drinking, didn't go after him because of women. They went after him because every Color Revolution manual ever written says the same thing. You cannot topple a government unless the security forces defect. That is soft power versus hard power. These organizations, the left, had all this soft power, which means head of institutions, head of entertainment media, so on and so forth, but they didn't have a military. And so without the hard power, you can't win. And Trump, by the way, is using that hard power to prove that against City of London. That's why City of London ultimately can't beat us, because we have the hard power, the military. And he says a loyal Secretary of Defense is one person who makes sure they don't. Now listen, here's a quick clip she was talking about.
Trump threatened the international order, Council on Foreign Relations, Washington, D.C., Brookings Institute types. They were never told their wars were stupid or their generals were losers or that NATO didn't step up, that China would unleash a virus. So let's call it the China virus and hold them to account for it. All of those things were a calling out of an international order that was failing and is continuing to fail and now has a great advocate in the regime currently in the White House.
Okay, so listen to that. Council of Foreign Relations, Brookings Institute, all of them, they're all neocons, which means they're all City of London types. All of them. And they were using our war machine to keep the perpetual wars going, keep that money flowing. And Hegseth is who Trump appointed as Secretary of Defense. Hegseth knows this and is being very open about it, which is fascinating. But here's the receipts. Data Republican always has receipts, by the way. She is such a great follow. Says, this is not my theory, this is theirs. Erica Chenoweth, Maria Stephan, two most cited scholars in the Color Revolution field, studied 323 regime change campaigns. Their finding, security force defections make campaigns 46 times more likely to succeed. So what did co-author Maria Stephan do next? She became chief organizer of Horizons Project. On July 16, 2025, she trained New Kings participants on video. Security forces refused to obey orders to repress protesters. She's got this right here.
And momentum is key to success. The third attribute of successful campaigns, they feature defections and loyalty shifts.
The commie fist right here. 130,000 people told. When they crack and power within them shifts, the entire edifice can crumble. They equals security forces, our military. Stefan's teachings are now informing a mass American audience is how you bring down a government. The regime's pillars of support. Again, the teachings.
Really getting anything done.
She's got all the stuff. You can go listen to them another time. It'll take too long. if I go through them all. It gets worse. Hardy Merriman, Gene Sharp's personal assistant, co-author of the Canvas Regime Change Field Manual used in 50 countries, wrote a domestic version. It says those who serve in government institutions swear an oath to uphold the Constitution. They don't swear allegiance to the president. Teaches them how to defect. Call in sick, work slowly, ignore orders, leak to media, publicly defy. Leak to media! Megyn Kelly's favorite thing right there, as far as Joe Kent is concerned. Work slowly, ignore orders. What's one of the big complaints about the Trump administration? Man, they're so slow to get stuff done. And then what's Brennan and Comey telling us? We have plants all over within the administration. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is how they slow stuff down, guys. And then publicly defy. Look at what their own planning document says about Hegseth. The Democracy Playbook 2025, same document teaches dealing with security forces and color revolution case studies, cites this in footnote 49. Hegseth had been flagged by fellow service member as possible inside threat. 72 hours after nomination, regime change manual. She's got it right here. It's crazy stuff, guys. This is what they were trying to do. This is how they were trying to destroy us from within. They had everything in place, but this is the key for everybody, who wants to doom, who gets nervous when they see this stuff, who starts getting hopeless. The point is, he's there. The point is, we're winning. The point is, Trump has got full authority over the military now. We are winning. This is good stuff. The operation went live November 11th, 25. National Lawyers Guild Military Law Task Force publishes FAQ on refusing illegal orders. Same group publishes a statement calling U.S. Venezuela operations war crimes, declaring officers should refuse superior orders. That is seditious 6 time. She says, remember the date. 6 days later, 6 Democratic members of Congress, military veterans, release a video telling active duty troops you must refuse illegal orders. It's all coordinated, folks. It's all a show. It's all a show. And here's the deal. Trump and the administration know it. And that is the biggest white pill of all. They know it. They're ahead of it. And they keep beating them. This, when you see this should not black pill you. This should white pill you. Because the black pill would be, we never saw this. We don't know it's there. But they're losing. And it's all coming out. That's a white pill, folks. 5 of the 6 recruited for a single organization, New Politics Leadership Academy. 1 pipeline, 1 talent program, 5 of 6. Then Mark Kelly was the 6th. A lot of these had military and CIA ties, these 6 that came out. Remember Trump calling them out? Sedition? Yeah, he knew exactly what he was doing. Because Trump knew all this. He wasn't just calling it to their face for fun. He knew this. Says the administration took the bait. Trump called them traitors, threatened death. Hegseth opened Pentagon investigation. Grand jury convened. Sedition, it failed. See, they did get a grand jury to try to get the sedition out. Daniel Driscoll, Secretary of the Army, has been more disruptive than Hegseth. Canceled M10 Booker. Halted Humphrey production. His confirmation vote, 66-28 versus Hegseth's 51-50. 0 organized opposition for Driscoll. They're trying to subvert Hegseth. Driscoll's someone the system can work with. He's Yale Law with cross-partisan relationships. His wife donated over $6,000 to Maggie Goodlander, one of the 6 seditious 6. Color Revolution Playbook is one tool for security forces. Social pressure through professional networks to induce defection. Driscoll's embedded. He can be pulled away. Braver Angels tiled, and it just keeps going, guys. Conclusion. Let's go to the conclusion. Hegseth named the institution 37 seconds. Institutions responded with pre-positioned Oppo research in 72 hours, regime change planning document citing him by name, legal predicate for military disobedience published the same week as a seditious 6 video, pipeline produced a cohort, grand jury they couldn't win, replacement they can co-opt, Braver Angels and MWEG sitting at the same table as the Color Revolution coordinators, physical barricade at the building where the playbook was written. They're not trying to get rid of a bad Secretary of Defense. They're trying to remove the one obstacle that makes their entire methodology fail. This is why they hate these people so much. What have I told you guys over and over again? Look at who they attack the most. Hegseth, Kash Patel, Bondi at one point. Now it's going to be Blanche. Tulsi Gabbard. J.D. Vance. They attack the people who are the biggest threats to their future and to what they want to accomplish now. All of those people have either, like Vance, future president possibly, but all the other ones are dealing with the justice and the intelligence and the military. Those are the things holding them back more than anything else. That's breaking them down. That's forcing them to lose. That's why they attack them the most, guys. That's why we get nonstop. Kash Patel's getting fired. Tulsi Gabbard's being outed. You know, that's why they always attack these people. Pam Bondi didn't do anything. Yeah, that's exactly why. You can choose to buy the psyops or not. But remember, these are the important people. And that's why they go after them. And Hegseth, they really try to get rid of. Now, this is how we're responding. Here's Secretary Bessent yesterday. This is the kind of thing that's going to destroy them forever. Listen to this.
Thank you. Reagan Race with the Daily Caller. I want to ask you about Antifa. In October, the Treasury Department started working with the FBI to investigate who's funding Antifa. Can you give us an update on that investigation? How close are you guys to finding out who's funding Antifa?
It is ongoing. We made substantial progress, and I think in the weeks and months ahead, we're going to have a lot to report. One thing that did go the underreported that I would point out to all of you is the IRS is now giving guidance on the Form 990, which nonprofits they have to file. And we are going to encourage or demand that nonprofits know their grant recipients. So if a grant recipient is violent, if they are suppressing people's rights, then you are responsible for that. And I think that's a very good first step.
Did you hear what he just said? This is massive. Okay, so first of all, he says, we have all this stuff on Antifa that's going to be coming out. He's been cutting off their funding since last year. He announced it last summer. Antifa is one of their militant wings to perform a color revolution, and it is weaker than ever thanks to this man and thanks to Trump. But then what he just said is crazy. He said that the IRS is now offering guidance that if you're a nonprofit and they catch you funding somebody like Antifa, you're responsible. That is the key to destroying these NGOs and nonprofits. It will ruin them because that's how they funnel that money, folks. So this is massive. And again, all wars are financial wars ultimately. Scott Bessent, as Tom Luongo calls him, Big Gay Patton, he is a general in this war. And he understands, thanks to his time with Soros, he understands how to weaponize economics more than any other person, which makes him the perfect person to be in charge of the Treasury under the Trump administration trying to defeat the City of London and the left. Great stuff. Now, they are starting to ramp up for the summer coming into the midterms. We have Antifa, Cam Higbee's following this, which, by the way, that means the FBI is following it too. Violence wages on New York, New Jersey. Antifa in Austin, Texas are planning an emergency protest at a holding facility. They're starting to try to ramp this stuff up again. We don't need to worry about it, okay? We pray, but trust, guys, the right people are in charge. They're not going to let this get out of control. If you guys think that the Trump administration has less power than they did in 2020 during the Summer of Love, the BLM riots, if you think Antifa and them have more power than they had then, you're crazy. This is 6 years later. They are extremely defunded. They have much of their funding cut off. We have a much more aggressive FBI and DOJ than we ever had before. And Trump has got full control of the military with Hegseth. I'm telling you, if you think they're going to somehow be able to do something bigger than they've pulled off in the past, I just don't see how it's possible, guys. It doesn't make sense. Why would they have waited? Why would they have allowed Trump to come back in 24 if they had all this power? It doesn't make sense. To me, when people say like they're about to unleash the left, watch out. This is the big one. To me, that's the same as Iran has super duper secret hypersonic missiles that will destroy us all. They're just waiting. That doesn't make sense. They lost. 2024 election was the Battle of Gettysburg. Once it was won, it was over, and all we got to do now is finish the job. That's where we're at. The Trump administration has the power. They are in big trouble now, but they're going to try. Don't get me wrong. They're going to do stuff. But if you think it's going to be this massive, crazy escalation that we just can't control, no, I'm sorry. I just don't see that happening. And if I'm wrong, I'll admit it. But I don't see that happening. And this is one of the reasons why. Look at Todd Blanche. We have people now, guys, willing to do what needs to be done.
Okay, let's talk about what you can and cannot tolerate. This is video from last night. This is one of those rioters and him shouting death threats at ICE officers. Watch.
Your whole family! Your whole family's dead! Come on! Children, your wife, all dead! Put your, my boy, I have your
What lovely people. Lovely people on the left.
dead!
You're dead, your children, your wife, your whole family, I'll kill them all. And then ironically says, I have your face. We all have his face.
Yeah, so do we. And look, that's a federal crime. And not only threatening the ICE officer, but think about how disgusting this individual is, threatening his family and his children with death. What is this man doing? He's just doing his job standing there. And so this, again, that is disgusting, that what you just showed, and we see his face. And I promise you, we will find him. And when we find him, we will arrest him, because it is a crime not only to threaten law enforcement, but not surprisingly to threaten their family as well.
Update is that they've so far arrested 9 out of this riot. I don't know if they got that guy yet, but they've already made arrests. So it's happening, guys, and it's going to keep happening. They're going to allow protests. It's First Amendment right. They're going to, but they're watching carefully, and it's just not going to be able to blow up the way the left wants it to. The coup was stopped, and now it's cleanup time. And I think more and more, especially in the next few months, this is only going to ramp up heading into the midterms. We're going to get a lot more action in a good way. And so I think Blanche is the guy to do it. He's the bulldog running this show. And I'm excited to see how it plays out. Okay, guys, if you don't mind, hit that like and subscribe. I got 2 more segments I want to do here, including where we're at in a lot of this justice stuff going on, a lot of stories coming out, and then I'm going to do a little teaching at the end, just telling you guys what the good stuff going on. Who are white hats? Well, white hat is a general broad term to mean people fighting on our behalf, and they can be military, they can be intelligence, just people with power on our side. That's the what a white hat refers to. Shadow Slaver with a $5 super chat. Thank you for the support. Says, how realistic do you think it is any of these politicians like Ilhan Omar get arrested? I'm new here. Haven't heard your opinion. Arrested, I'm not sure. I can tell you that they are absolutely looking into, in fact, there's already investigations open on her that have been confirmed that could ultimately end up in deportation even, or stripping of her citizenship. So I think they have plans for people like Ilhan Omar, but it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. What they will do is what they deem to be most effective and what's most defensible to the public at large, not just those of us on the right and who are like, arrest them all. So they'll do the most wise choice, in my opinion. But Ilhan Omar is in trouble. I really believe that. One of the many with a $5 super chat says, do you think we'll get an increase of attacks on Warsh? Oh, man, it's already happened. Look at Jerome Powell sitting back and staying on the board, which no one's ever done before. He stepped down from chairman and he's remained on the board of governors. That's never happened. They are going to try to subvert Warsh. Now, Warsh there hasn't been much opportunity to attack him yet, except for in Congress, where the left went after him hardcore. In his hearings. But yeah, there will be attacks on him. If he lowers rates or anything he does that seem to be that something like Trump does, he will get attacked as a Trump lackey and someone who's making the Fed no longer independent. That will be where they start. And then they will try to do everything they can to ruin his reputation. You better believe it. It will come down the road. Let's see. Violence and Poetry says, times like this, I'm reminded of a hymn my grandmother sang, trust and obey. We don't need to know God's plan. We just need to trust and obey. Amen to that. Amen to that. I agree. Let's see. When I was in the 92 LA riots with National Guard, very disconcerting watching it go down around. Oh my God, I can't even imagine. I bet it's insane. Any updates on Situation Room talks? That's a good question. We should look at that, shouldn't we? Let me take a second before we go into the next segment and look and see if there's any updates on Trump. All right, so here is the latest from Trump, actually.
Right about it with Iran. Iran is very much intent. They want very much to make a deal. So
this is actually just from his. This is from the cabinet meeting, so this isn't the latest. It looks like the block on the strait has now been lifted, and yeah, not seeing anything else on Iran. But hey, Louisiana passed their map, so that's cool. So we'll see. Here's the latest from Iran, if we can trust them. Messages are being exchanged between Tehran and Washington. No final understanding has been reached. So we'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes. If you think we're live on a water ball flying in a vacuum, you're not a Christian. What? What are you talking about? That's a weird thing to say. Worship is sent, sanctioning country, not allowing us to claw back fraud funds. We're going to see a lot of stuff. Yeah, absolutely like that. They're going to keep ramping up the economic side of it for sure. That'll keep happening. Yeah. So, okay, let's get into this fraud part. Okay. All right. So I keep saying how the fraud part is a big part of the justice we want, because fraud, as they investigate the fraud, as they unearth it, it's going to expose corruption, which leads to arrests, which is what we all want, right? Just like Elliot Ness getting Al Capone, getting Al Capone, he couldn't get him on murder. He couldn't get on racketeering. He had covered it up too well, but they got him in the finances with taxes. So this continues to matter. Now, we're also getting a lot of exposure in other ways. And Catherine Herridge, who is one of the best out there, best reporters we can still trust, is saying that Tulsi Gabbard is about to expose a bunch of stuff coming out. Now, exposure is a form of justice. And again, it leads to other things. Look at this, though. Watchdog Judicial Watch suing Homeland Security Investigations for records and communications about directed energy or pulsed energy device acquired by HSI in around late 2024 using DOD funds. Well, we got that in response to this. DNI Gabbard is working to declassify directed energy weapons and COVID-19 information between June 30th departure. So that's really interesting that all this, so that, in other words, Tulsi's getting ready before she leaves on June 30th to unleash a bunch of information. This, guys, is the beginning. Okay. You awaken people and then you can pursue them, pursue the bad guys, because people understand what's bad. So Tulsi doing her job. And then we keep getting more breaking down of the conspiracy against Trump. Now, this is how we're going to get, along with the exposure of fraud, the takedown of the people at the top. There's other ways too. Uranium One, which Trump's working on, Iran. But listen to this that they found. Ray's FBI raided Mar-a-Lago to steal documents that Trump declassified during his first term. These documents show CIA and FBI and Obama's orders tried to overthrow Trump through the Russiagate op. Brendan Kobe paid Stephen Halper and Christopher Steele to manufacture intelligence for the hoax. Operative Steve Halper was FBI Crossfire Hurricane informer. Comey tried to cross out his name to hide the CIA involvement in the Russiagate op against Trump. Then Comey hid his notes. Look at it, and I'll show you guys in the post below. Haspel was chief of the CIA London Station 1516. London Station, that's interesting. Haspel ran offshore anti-Trump ops for John Brennan. Haspel and Halper seeded Russiagate from England. London, England. Here's the docs that are starting to come out, guys. But this one's crazy. These are the notes from Comey. HRC, Hillary Rodham Clinton. Stuff is just, we're going to get so much stuff over the next few weeks and months, folks. I hope you're ready for it, because everybody had been wanting justice. It's coming. It's coming. So, more justice, E. Jean Carroll. But look at this. This is the Attorney General's office, or Attorney's office. Following is a statement from Andrew Boutros, United States Attorney for Northern District of Illinois. In light of widespread reporting and intense media and public interest in the E. Jean Carroll matter in New York, Chicago U.S. Attorney's Office can confirm it's not open, never open a criminal investigation of E. Jean Carroll. But they're investigating Reid Hoffman for more than funding her lawsuits. You guys know Reid Hoffman, and he's one of the biggest friends of Epstein, which, interestingly enough, he's the one billionaire we know has been associated with Epstein that Thomas Massie never talked about. Reid Hoffman funded the victim video ad that was ran during the Super Bowl about Epstein and going after Trump. Reid Hoffman's one of the worst. And so the E. Jean Carroll story I reported the other day apparently is not true. What's true is they're looking into who funded it. And that's Reid Hoffman, which is much bigger fish to fry than E. Jean Carroll. For everybody saying nothing's happening. Here's another example of things happening. Russ Vogt at OMB has overhauled $1 trillion in federal grants by adding E-Verify requirements. That's how you keep out the illegals. English language rules and political appointee oversight to ensure taxpayer dollars go to American citizens first. Vogt's new proposal replaces automatic payouts with pay-for-performance standards. Grants can now be terminated for waste, fraud, underperformance, or pushing anti-American priorities like DEI, gender ideology, or Green New Scam programs. No more blank checks, and fraud complaints go straight to Inspectors General and U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro in 10 days. Here's the plan that just went into effect. It is 8.5 minutes, but this is him speaking and testifying in front of Congress about this plan. But it could overhaul $1 trillion. How much of that is going to save? This is the fraud being weeded out. Now, yesterday I reported on Trump's mail-in voting order gets to remain in effect. Here's some of the results of that. There's 8 universal mail-in voting states. Oh, they're all Democrat except for Nevada, which just recently flipped. Well, actually Utah too, but Utah's totally run by rhinos. California, Colorado, Hawaii, Nevada, Oregon, Utah, Vermont, and Washington. Feds have every right to take authority when the means of voting to engage the USPS. No one but deployed military, those with legitimate reasons for absence or legitimately disabled should be voting by mail. These states, we're going to start seeing some big changes, which means in states like Nevada and Utah, get some MAGA types in there, replace the establishment wing. And then these other states, I would not be surprised if in our lifetime, in the next 10, 20 years, we see California, Colorado, and Oregon go red. California, I lived there till I was 30 years old. It's a very mixed state. And what happened is the left got in the government, and it became so corrupt they blocked out the red, and they've disenfranchised millions of red voters. But if you go to California and you spend time in Northern California and Central California, it's all red. It is all Republicans and MAGA types. The left is all in Silicon Valley, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. And those are big areas, but that's where the left resides. And I think California could flip red very easily if this is all cleaned up. Colorado, same thing. Colorado's pretty red by the people, but They let the Democrats in stupidly under Obama, and the Democrats never let go after that. In Oregon, I had somebody write me the other day say Oregon had many Republican governors until mail-in voting happened. Oh, guys, this is how they steal elections. And Trump's order is going to make it very hard for them. As long as it's upheld, it's going to be very hard for them to keep this cheating going in a major way. And then we had Bessent come out yesterday and say there's not going to be a central bank digital currency on their watch. So listen to this.
So this administration has been very clear. There will be no central bank digital currency, which I think would be the first step toward tracking. So we have taken that off the table. We've passed stablecoin legislation with bipartisan, and the Clarity Act is now up on the Hill, and I think it has bipartisan support. And the most important thing we can do is to make digital assets come into the United States, make the U.S. the home. Our regulation, our best practices are what will ensure good standards for these. When you look at digital assets, all the nonsense that happens, all the things you read about, that's because it's the wild, wild west offshore, so we got to bring it on shore. So I would encourage the House and the Senate to get clarity done. Jack?
So we're going to be the leader in crypto, which is exactly what so many people want. And, you know, to get it less regulated, but also stable. And, but the whole central bank digital currency thing, guys, I've been trying to tell people for years that if Trump gets in, it's not happening. And again, it's just, you know, I have to keep bringing it up, but they keep saying it. I know I got the doomers who are always like, well, no, man, of course they're going to say that. Okay, whatever. But again, I'm just showing you what the Trump administration says. Trump has said it in posts before. We got Bessent saying it's never going to happen. So, you know, I'm going to trust the guys who are in charge I voted for and have been doing so many other good things for us. But again, all this to me, guys, it's just signs of justice, signs of our country getting back on track, defeating the City of London, the globalist agenda, the leftist agenda. And that should encourage everybody, honestly. Okay. Please hit that like, hit that subscribe, guys. Again, please, if you want to support the channel, jump in the description and click that link to Patreon, and you can get a free month by signing up now. You can cancel before the month's over if you don't like it, but I think you'll like it. You'll find a Discord group that's amazing. The community there is awesome. Great people to talk to, hang out with, learn from. It's like a chat room, but better. There's multiple rooms for different subjects and stuff as well. We have a lot of fun in there. Also, you get access to members only content, which last week I did a 2-hour members only live with Jim Savoldi, aka BAM Investor, is just one of the smartest guys I know about the markets, talking about what Trump's doing behind the scenes. Incredible stuff, great stuff. I will not have a members live this weekend. I'm actually going to Georgia to help my sister move. She's going through a real tough time, so pray for her. But I'm going to go be a good brother and help her out for the weekend. But I'm getting better. My health is coming back. Thank God. This 2-week cold has been horrible, but I'm getting there. So starting next week, the plan is to get back on track with regular members lives and the classes, get the classes started up again. So I'm very excited about that. $10 super chat from Shadow Slaver says, Oregon only has mail-in voting, but right now our governor race is 45-45 for Republican and Democrat. We could potentially get a Republican in Oregon with Trump's help on voting. That would be amazing. Yeah, go for you. Isn't it Chris Dudley running? That's awesome. Former NBA player. Listen, guys, I got one more segment I'm going to do that's a little bit different. It's for those who, like the deep dives I do on faith stuff. So hope you guys will stick around. I'm going to get started on that in a minute, but I do want to check in the chat real quick as well. Let's see here. We have a 12-year-old watching. Hey, that's awesome. I will try to be very nice in my language. Jay Tyler says, I can't believe I like a gay as much as I like a Bessa, but here we are in 2026. Plenty of good gays, man. Cat Crazy, anything having Cali under stress for so many fraud schemes may make them second guess voting theft again. We'll watch. Absolutely. Remington, what do you think I'm going to read that out loud? Get out of here. Take your hawks. Get out of here. Cindy Gibson said, California's going red again. I grew up even when Ron Reagan was governor. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we had Reagan, we had Schwarzenegger, we had Pete Wilson, lots of Republican governors. Actually, Reagan was a Democrat when he was governor of California, but he was like a JFK Democrat, so which would be a Republican today. Shadow Slaver has joined the YouTube channel. Thank you very much, Shadow Slaver, for joining. And awesome. Now you have access to all the members' lives. Glad to have you. Glad to have you. Let's see here. Anything else? Oh, a Seahawks 12. Okay. I was I was a little thrown off there. Let's see here. Anything else I missed before we go on? All right, we had a troll block. That's awesome. All right, nothing else right now. Okay, guys, let's move on to the next segment. Nicola Robinson says, great information. Glad I found you through Rich. That's awesome. Thank you. Thanks for giving me a chance. I appreciate it. I really do. All right, hit that like and subscribe, guys.
Okay,
and
let's talk about what you can and cannot tolerate. This is video from last night. This is one of those rioters and him shouting.
Sorry, guys. Sometimes these things go off, and I don't know why. That's weird. All right. Guys, I felt like today, for this last segment here, I really wanted to, I just talked about this Noah's Ark thing this week. And so I really wanted to talk today, kind of give you guys an idea of why I feel the way I do about what's coming. And the way to address this, I believe, is through understanding my way of reading the Bible and the theology behind it. Because one thing I constantly get is it's the end times, and every time people come at me with all this stuff, it's like they are like, you don't believe the Bible, and I'm like, dude, you don't understand. There is a different way to understand it. And so I thought today I would go through this to help people understand, and also maybe open some eyes as to why things can be portrayed differently than the scary end times thoughts many people have. And this is like also a glimpse into my bigger teachings that I do on members' lives and will do in my classes. So this is like going to be a short version of it. You guys are getting like the Cliff Notes, and I might do more segments like this going forward. But again, if it's not your thing, I totally understand. That's fine. But I do think for me, this is very important. And it also will help you guys understand my worldview and why I see things the way I do. First, Motley Crue, the $5 super chat says, hi, I'm in Georgia. I'd invite you for dinner, but we're headed to Cali to vote for Spencer Pratt. I love that. That's great. Good stuff. All right. So, to start this off, why am I so optimistic about the future? Well, as I'm a man of faith, okay, and I believe God's always working out everything for good. And I grew up believing that there was going to be very scary things ahead. I had grown up in the Hal Lindsey, Darby way of believing about Revelation and the end times and all that. And I've just, the more I study the Bible, which I've been studying since I was 12 years old, so 30 years, the more I've learned that I just don't believe that's the most biblical interpretation anymore. And I've spent years studying this. I've gone to Israel, studied in Israel. I've studied it from Greek and Hebrew, gone back to the roots of the original scriptures, studied the early church fathers. And, the vast majority of what people say they believe about the end times comes from Matthew 24 and how they interpret that. And they say it's in Revelation, they say it's different places, but really it comes down to how they understand Matthew 24, because these are the words of Jesus. So I'm just going to go through this quickly and give you guys a breakdown of how I biblically read Matthew 24, and which can set the stage for a lot of other stuff, understanding Daniel, understanding Revelation, understanding stuff in Thessalonians, so on and so forth. But I hope it can never be said after this that I don't know the Bible. I just read it differently. And because of the way I read it, I believe we're heading to much better times, and it's not going to get big and scary for us anytime soon. So let me get into this. So here's Matthew 24, which is the where Jesus talks about judgment and end times stuff coming that people think. Okay, so in coming into 24, in 23, Jesus has pronounced 7 woes on religious leaders. That's when he's going after the Pharisees. And he laments, behold, your house is left to you desolate, in 23:38, which is a repeat of Jeremiah 12:7 and 22:5, which Jeremiah was decrying the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple by the Babylonians, which did happen. He then predicts the temple's total destruction. There will be not one stone here left upon another. That's in verse 2. This was literally fulfilled in AD 70 when the temple was destroyed, Jerusalem was destroyed. This is the disciples' question that people push into the future. When will these things be, and what will be the sign of your coming in the end of the age? Now, this is very important, okay? This is very important to understand this, because some people translate this as end of the world. It's not. It's end of the age. The next thing is they are directly asking Jesus, when will this happen, that there won't be one stone upon another? Because it's the next verse. So we know they're not asking Jesus, when will the end of the world be? This is like one of the craziest things people believe, and I just don't understand it. It's right here. It's right here. There will not be one stone left upon another. Next verse. When will this be, and when will be the sign of the coming and the end of the age? Okay, so they're clearly talking about when will the destruction of Jerusalem happen. All right. Now, in first century Jewish thought, the temple was the center of their world and the old covenant system. Its fall would signal the end of the age. This is true. The end of the age of the law. The covenant between God and Moses. Greek, the word is aeon. Age or era, not the physical planet. It's also in Hebrews 9:26. Jesus answers a unified question about the temple's destruction, the end of the Old Covenant era. It says the coming, Greek erchomenos, here echoes Old Testament judgment language. Old Testament judgment language. What does that tell us? It tells us Jesus is basically repeating the same thing Jeremiah and Isaiah were saying about the end, and Ezekiel were saying about the end of that current Jerusalem and that current temple, which happened. The Babylonians destroyed it. Jesus is now echoing this language, telling them about the upcoming destruction of Jerusalem and the temple that happens in AD 70. So all events through verse 35 occur within this generation. That's what Jesus said in chapter 23. All of this will happen upon this generation. Well, a generation, Jesus spoke this in AD 30. And the destruction of Jerusalem was in AD 70. A generation to the Jews was 40 years. 40 years in the desert, 40 years in the wilderness. So, 40 years is a generation. And a generation dies, just like Jesus projected, in AD 70. It is not, as some people like to believe it, some people will mistranslate that generation to be, he actually meant race and it's the end of the world. No, that's a terrible translation. And your ability to understand the Bible, if you do that kind of stuff, if you actually change Jesus's words, is really going to screw you up. It's really going to screw you up. Now, Matthew 24:4-14. Signs before the end, beginning of birth pains. Here are the signs intensified leading up to AD 70. False Christs. Multiple messianic claimants arose up until AD 70. Theudas in Acts 5:36, the Egyptian false prophet in Acts 21:38. Josephus records several others, including another one named Jesus. How about that? Wars and rumors of wars, Jewish-Roman tensions, revolts in Judea, civil strife. Now, when would rumors of wars actually be something that could point to end times? Because there's always rumors of wars our entire lives, correct? I think we could all agree on that. Well, this was during the time of what they called Pax Romana, which was Roman peace. And so this peace, Pax Romana, Jesus was under Augustus, it would have made sense that rumors of war now would mean the peace, the Roman peace is ending. Pax Romana is ending. So this actually would mean something different to them than it would mean to us now. Context is so important on this stuff. Famines, earthquakes, and pestilence documented in 40s, 60s AD. Famine under Claudius, earthquakes noted by Tacitus and Suetonius. In fact, horrific ones, by the way. And then the pestilence would break out after the earthquakes. Persecution, verses 9 through 10, exactly as the early church experienced. Acts 8 through 1, Nero's persecution was the worst Christians ever experienced. But there was also massive persecution of the Jews against the Christians, such as Paul was carrying out on his way to Damascus. Gospel preached to all nations. See, this is a misinterpretation. All the world, the Greek word there is oikomene, which means land or area, and it was the Roman Empire. Paul confirms this was fulfilled in the mid-50s, Romans 1:8, 15:19, Colossians 1:6, 23, Acts 17:6. The application point, these were the birth pains leading to the delivery of the new covenant era. Now, what's the abomination of desolation and great tribulation? Matthew 24:15 through 28. The abomination of desolation, verses 15, or Daniel 9:27, 11:31, 12:11. Luke clarifies, the book of Luke. When you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then know that its desolation has come near. This is about the armies of Titus approaching. That's the abomination that causes desolation. The armies of Titus approaching Jerusalem. This was fulfilled in stages. Jewish zealot factions turned the temple into a fortress, committing murders and atrocities inside the holy place, recorded by Josephus. Roman armies under Cestius Gallus and later Titus encircled the city with pagan standards and sacrifices. Flee to the mountains, verses 16 through 20. Jesus tells them, flee to the mountains. When you see this happening, flee to the mountains. Guess what? The early Christians took him at his word. They obeyed and fled to Pella in Perea, and Eusebius records that no Christians died in the siege of Jerusalem. You know what a miracle that is? Not one Christian died. That's because they actually listened to Jesus' words. Here's the Great Tribulation. Such has not been from the beginning of the world until now, no and never will be. Well, here's the historic counting of the destruction of Jerusalem. Siege by Titus, son of Vespasian, began in Passover AD 70. The pilgrims were trapped inside. The famine was apocalyptic. Famine devoured whole houses and families. Streets and houses piled with unburied bodies. Mothers and children died in each other's arms. Cannibalism. A wealthy woman named Maria killed, roasted, ate half her infant son, offered the rest to rebel soldiers who robbed her. Josephus called it an act unparalleled in the history of the Greeks or barbarians. Total deaths, Josephus records 1.1 million Jews perished in this. Do you know what the equivalent of that would be nowadays? That would be like 20, 30 million perished by today's. That would be the most awful destruction in the history of the world. The temple was burned despite Titus's orders. In the Jewish war, this is Josephus accounting, city and sanctuary left desolate. False prophets and signs, 23 through 28. Josephus records false prophets as promising deliverance while luring people to doom. Jesus' judgments coming swift and visible in the lightning, Luke 17:24. Key interpretive principle. Jesus uses classic Old Testament prophetic apocalyptic language for judgments. Coming of the Son of Man, 24:29 through 31. There's a providential judgment coming against Jerusalem. Cosmic signs. The sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of heaven will be shaken. This not literal language. Jesus is repeating stuff from the Old Testament, how they spoke prophetically. The people who understood the Old Testament would have understood this. Look at this. Isaiah 13:10 through 13, judgment on Babylon. Stars of heavens and their constellations will not give their light. Sun will be dark at its rising. Moon will not shed its light. Pretty much the exact same words as Jesus. Isaiah is talking about judgment on Babylon. Isaiah 34:4 through 10 against Edom. All the host of heaven shall rot away. Heavens will be rolled up like a scroll. Did that literally happen? No. These are prophetic language. Ezekiel 32:7 through 8 against Egypt and Pharaoh. I'll cover the heavens and make their stars dark. I'll cover the sun with a cloud and the moon shall not give its light. Moon, sun, and stars are prophetic language for leaders. Okay? Not literal. Joel 2:10-31, day of the Lord against Israel nation. Sun and the moon are darkened, stars withdraw their shining before the great and awesome day of the Lord. Additional parallels, Jeremiah 4:23 through 31, Amos 8:9, Zephaniah 1:14 through 18. Peter quotes the same language at Pentecost, Acts 2:17 through 21. He repeats 28 through 32, Joel 2. for events already starting in that generation. Sign of the man in heaven, judgment itself. Roman armies as God's tool is the visible sign. Coming on the clouds, Daniel 7:13-14. Son of man, coming in the ancient of days, receive kingdom authority. OT judgment imagery, Isaiah 19:1. Behold, the Lord is riding on a swift cloud and comes to Egypt. God coming in judgment, verse 4, Roman armies. Christ coming on the clouds, this judgment on the clouds. It's a prophetic imagery. It's not supposed to be literal. We know this because the Old Testament teaches us this. Psalm 104:3, 97:2-3. God rides clouds in theophany and judgment. Jesus is saying, I will come in judgment against Jerusalem through the Romans, just like God came against Babylon, Egypt, and other nations, and Israel in the Old Testament. Gathering the elect. Here's verse 31. The trumpet equals gospel proclamation jubilee. Isaiah 27:13. Referenced Matthew 28:19. With the temple gone, the elect, Jews and Gentiles, gathered into the new covenant church. Acts 1:28, Romans 11:25-26. Timeline immediately after the tribulation of those days is right after the AD 70 events. This is one of those things, guys, that like to me, it's like once you see it, you can't unsee it. I just don't see how people put this into the end of times. Once you understand the Bible, especially prophetic language, it just doesn't make sense. Fig tree and the assurance, fig tree lesson. When you see these signs, temple desecration, tribulation, know that's near, right at the door. Jesus was telling them, this is going to happen to you guys, okay? This is going to happen. This is why John said this is coming soon. Paul said this is coming soon. They all said this is happening soon. None of them said this is going to happen in 2,000, 3,000 years. They were talking to their people. They were trying to warn them. This is why it makes sense, okay? This generation will not pass away. That's crystal clear. The generation witnessed it all. My words will not pass away. God's prophetic words surer than creation itself, 100%. Transition, the final coming. Concerning that day and hour, now Jesus shifts focus. Now this does talk about the end of times, okay? The end of 24 into 25, because Jesus shifts right here. But concerning that day and hour, Jesus shifts focus. Earlier events have signs. Final return has none. So everybody's saying, guys, everybody's like, oh, I can see the signs of the end. No, you can't. Because nobody knows. Jesus says it. No one knows. We're not getting the same signs for the end, folks, that we got for the destruction of Jerusalem. He does say, be ready. Days of Noah, normal life until sudden judgment. One taken, one left, faithful servant rewarded. It's going to be different than the tribulation and the horrible, horrible stuff that happened. Okay. So what this means for us, God is perfectly faithful. Jesus predicted the temple's fall and the end of the old covenant system in a generation. And it happened exactly as described. By the way, that's what most of Revelation is about. It's just echoing Matthew 24. The old covenant's obsolete. We live fully in the new covenant age with the gospel for all nations, yet we still await Christ's visible bodily return. Live ready, no date setting, no fear-mongering. This is encouraging. Understanding removes speculative end times anxiety, fills us with confidence in God's sovereign plan. So this, guys, just so you know, this is a way to let you understand, okay, there is a biblical understanding. And I will, other times, I'll teach on Revelation, I'll teach Daniel, I'll teach other aspects. But I just want you guys to understand that when I say better things are coming, that it's not going to be dark and scary, I have biblical backing for that. It fits perfectly within my Christian faith. And you can read the Bible that way and understand the Bible that way. If you want to keep your scary stuff, if you want to keep believing that God's going to allow Christians to wither away and an antichrist to rise up and kill all the Christians, and there'll be a rapture and there'll be horrific times, and then finally Jesus rescues us, and if you want to keep holding on to that, I'm not going to stop you. I just think, that's a very sad way to live, because Isaiah says that the increase of his government will have no end. In other words, there's no going backwards, not even for a little time. And so I just have real problems with that, biblically speaking. But I just want you to know, guys, I believe the history since Jesus ascended into heaven, the history of our earth is that things do get better over time. We live in a much better time than Jesus came. Much better. You wouldn't want to go back there for anything. It was horrible. Horrible. Bad health, prostitution, children being abused, slavery, just disgusting. People killed for the smallest stuff, oppression like you've never understood, persecution like you've never understood. You want to live there. And it just gets better. Okay. It just gets better. And so, I just want you guys to understand that like Jesus will come back someday. There's a job to be finished, but until he comes back, the word of God is spreading. Christians are spreading. We went from a handful of people believing in Jesus to now we're over 1/3 of the globe. 2.5 billion people are Christians. That, my friends, is an insane number. It's an amazing number. And it keeps spreading every day. Thousands and tens of thousands of people are converting to Christianity every day. And so that increase of his government has no end. It's going to keep happening. We will eventually come a time when we can't go any further, and that's when Jesus will come back. Revelations 19 says Jesus comes back when the bride has made herself ready. Well, in wedding terms, a bride is ready after she's spent all day getting beautiful, all day pampering herself, getting her beautiful dress on. In other words, Jesus will come back when the church is ready, when the church is gone as far as it can go without him. And that doesn't mean we're being beat up. It doesn't mean we're bloodied and broken. It means the church is thriving and we've gone as far as we can without him. Then he comes back and finishes the job. That's how I read the Bible. I can make the case all day long, biblically speaking. So again, you can read the Bible different. That's on you. But nobody can tell me I don't know the Bible because I know it very well. And the way I read it is very hopeful and exciting. So so I hope you guys learned something and love you guys. Appreciate you. And thanks. Please hit that like and subscribe. All right. Michael Palmer says this isn't a biblical teaching. Bro, I just dumped Bible on you. So if you don't think this is Bible teaching, then you don't know the Bible. I'm just saying that right now. You don't know the Bible if you say this wasn't Bible teaching. Just because you disagree. And listen, this is so weak and pathetic. I get this from Christians all the time. Listen, I used to believe all the other stuff too. I've studied the Bible for 30 years. The people who say that, they have no argument because their minds are so broken that there's another understanding. And they just can't fathom the thought that literally millions of Christians disagree with them and read the Bible differently. So they throw out, you don't know the Bible, this isn't scripture. I just spent 25 minutes dropping scripture like crazy. You don't know the Bible if you think I don't, because I just dropped scripture. You can say, I disagree, I read it different, and that's fine. We can be there. But if you want to say, I don't know scripture after what I just presented to you, you're an idiot. You're just an idiot. Freenez with the $5 super chat says, I think a lot of the coast of California isn't as blue as people think. Normies seem to be afraid and talk and look over their shoulder to see who's listening. That is very true, Freenez. Exactly my experience in California as well. We got Keith Torgensen with the $20 super chat. Thank you, Keith. Very appreciate that. It says, during the book of Exodus, all the signs and wonders were meant to display in glory to both the Hebrews and their enemies, not meant for us to be terrified, but to bring us deliverance and trust in the Lord. It's the same now. I couldn't agree with you more. That's a very good sign, very good breakdown. I will even say this. In Exodus 19, God invites the Israelites to be priests, a nation of priests. In other words, he was inviting them into relationship with him. They were so terrified at the sign and the shaking on the mountain that they rejected it, and they sent Moses back up. And that's when God gave them the law, because they weren't ready for relationship. And just like Abraham didn't have the law, Noah didn't have the law, Joseph and what's his name? Jacob. None of them had the law, and yet they're considered the patriarchs. They didn't have the law. God gave the law as a covenant to preserve the Israelites who weren't ready for relationship. And then when Jesus came, he fulfilled the law so that they no longer had to live under it. And we can now have the relationship God always wanted us to have. Okie Sooner says, where can I find your Bible teachings? They are on my playlist, Understanding the Whole Bible, on my channel. So you can find that, and I will be doing much more. I will be doing much, much more. Let's see here. I'm feeling pretty. I'm a bride of Christ, man. We all are. We're all beautiful to him. Let's see here. I thought I saw something else here. This is a good question. Dr. Lauren Holder says, what are the actual signs of his coming? Well, as for one thing, Jesus says, no one will know. So what does that say? That actually says there's not a lot of signs of his coming. Okay. He says even the Son won't know. So everybody who interprets this stuff to be like the signs of Jesus's final coming, they're actually disobeying Jesus's own words. Okay. So Jesus says you won't know. What we can say is that we're going to keep increasing. The Christian faith will keep increasing. That's a fact. And then again, we have Revelation 19:7, which tells us the bride has made herself ready, but we won't know when we're ready. God's not giving that to us because he said, it's not like one day we're going to wake up and be like, the church is in a great place. We're as far as we can get. Jesus is coming back today. Jesus says no one will know. So quit looking for signs. Live your life. Live your life. And Jesus will come when he comes. Live your life. Do the best to impact the world around you. Stop worrying about when he'll come back. This is like so many people I've been in the church my whole life. I've watched so many people waste years and decades of their lives waiting for Jesus to come back and just living as if with no impact on the world, bunkering themselves, having literal bunkers, just like telling their kids, there's no point in getting involved in the world, making it better because Jesus is coming back. It's a lie. It's a way the devil takes us out and stops us from making impact. So, that's something that you gotta really deeply look into. Michael Palmer, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Let's see here. Freenez, member for a month. Your last super chat was delayed. Oh, that's fine. You're great. Thank you for supporting the channel. Monica says we were born on third base, 10 Commandments and redemption. That's one way of looking at it. I like that. Thank you, Chris, for coming. You guys are so nice. Thank you. Lisa Doxy, what do I think Thune will do when they come back from break? Do I think he gets it now? No, I don't think he gets it back. I think they will. I think they're going to still fight, but I think Trump has got other things to do. Well, Michael, listen, you can't say I don't know scripture because I do. Interpreting it different doesn't mean I don't know it. So you were being rude. You were being very disrespectful. And so you're not going to get a talk with me. By the way, I know all the other arguments. I lived them. I believed them. This is a better argument. And that's why I believe it now. But you can still believe it, and that's totally fine. But I will shred your arguments. But that's fine. But don't come on my show and be acting like you know everything. How about you actually ask questions, okay? I just really did not like how you presented that. I thought it was very rude, honestly. So I don't need to watch any other teachings that contradict this. I lived it for the first 30 years of my life. I didn't come upon this understanding until my mid-30s. And once I saw this argument, it was so powerful. I said the other argument makes no sense anymore to me. This is the biblical interpretation from my understanding now, because as somebody who's studied the Bible since I was 12 years old, I got to tell you, I understand the Bible, and this one makes so much more sense to me than having to make up stuff to believe stuff in the future that's scary and doomerism. I don't understand how people can say Paul, John, Peter, Jesus all said this would come soon, and then they push it into the future. Not one prophet in the Old Testament said something was coming soon, and it was pushed off for thousands of years. So I just can't get there, and I'll never get there again. I'm sorry. But anyways, I do see you're being more respectful now, so I appreciate that. Listen, I don't want to be a jerk to you, but I just thought that the way you first presented it was very rude. Okay. But anyways, we can get along, and we'll make up for it. We'll water under the bridge. Okay. Let's just agree to disagree. And we can get along in so many other ways. We can agree on Jesus. How about that? And we can agree the Bible's the word of God. We'll start there. How about that? So, Monica, Jesus sent his apostles out in all directions, a priest, peaceful and faithful to the end. Absolutely. We all need to do that. 100%. William Magdalene, you're interested? Oh yeah. So this is great. Thank you. So Jonathan Welton is a friend of mine, and he's not the only person who's written on this. This is like, if you know, Harold Eberle is an excellent source. Oh gosh, the other names are escaping my head right now. I have this book right here. Who's that? That is I can't read it. I don't have my glasses on. I can't remember his name. Kenneth Gentry. He writes this massive book. He literally goes for verse through verse of Revelation. It's an incredible book. It's 700 pages. But there's so many people who have broken this down. And actually, if you go to the Eastern Church, Eastern Orthodox, they're much more likely to believe this than we do. In fact, many Catholics believe this as well. Calvinists, which I disagree with all those people in a lot of areas. But their end-times theology, I think, is much better than the modern Protestant one, evangelical one. But, you know, this is what St. Augustine believed. This is what Eusebius believed, the early church fathers. So, but I'll tell you, so you don't have to read Welton's work, but I recommend his work because listen, Jonathan Welton went through a very bad time and he did some terrible things. He
Death
abused
threats
and
at ICE officers.
he took
Watch.
advantage of his position. Why is this turning on? That's hilarious. Okay. But anyways, so in regards to his allegations, he is admitted to it. Years ago, he got called out on it. He lost his entire ministry. He turned his entire life around. He is now just a good dude. He's gotten his life back on track. He has never denied what happened. He is very repentant. He's completely changed his life. So there are videos going around now talking about what Welton did like 10 years ago. And I think it's kind of disgusting. There's a huge culture in our church right now that's like witch hunters, and they go after anybody they disagree with. And if they find any dirt on you, they blow it up, and have to make it the now thing. I'm sad for Welton. I was going to have him on my show. He won't come out in public anymore. He's taking a long break because this has all come back to him, but I still recommend his books. His books are fantastic. He's done the work. And, so yeah, but that's what I had to say to Welton. But in my opinion, as somebody who knows him and as somebody who's been watching this thing for 10 years, he's repented and done everything he knows to do. But he's also said that, like, if some people think I haven't done enough, I'm going to do more. So he's a good dude. He did some dumb things. And when you're in ministry, those dumb things are, you know, you're double judged as a teacher. And so he's living those consequences. And, it's sad to me that people, you know, can't see what I see, how he's moved on, but it is what it is. Okay. Cat Crazy says, what do I think of Islam growing rapidly in our Christian nation? Well, it's a little bit overblown, but it is also real. We need to keep letting Christianity continue and grow, which it is growing again. We're experiencing some revival. You know, we just got to be us, and we got to keep passing laws and making sure that it doesn't grow. And that's the best way we fight back. Because of our nation, the structure of it, we never can just kick out people for being Islamic and stuff like that. So we need to pray, and we need to live truth, spread truth, and then it won't keep spreading. Because in America, they can't force you to Islam at gunpoint. They can't. And one of the reasons it's growing is just because of the illegal invasion. The growth will slow down significantly now that immigration's being fixed. So I'm not as worried as other people are, but it is an issue. I'm not denying that. Dr. Etherizer says, Peter said in Acts 2 that was the fulfillment of Joel. You're absolutely right. 100%. He says it right there. Yep. Do homosexuals go to hell? You know, for one thing, we don't get to judge who doesn't go to hell. Jesus is very clear about that. We can't judge a person's heart. What I could say is not one of us is without sin. So the thing is about homosexuals is they're choosing to live in their sin. But I can't say why. That's between them and Jesus. If they're choosing to live in their sin because of trauma and they're just not able to see differently, there might be grace for that if they still love Jesus. But I do believe that there does come a point of choice. in choosing to live in life of sin, that can ultimately, derail you and for eternity. But can I just make a blanket statement that everybody who's homosexual goes to hell? No, I cannot make that statement. That's not for me to make. That's for Jesus to make. And but I will say it's a sin, and it will destroy you. All sin leads to death, ultimately. But there's a belief that, like, if you sin, say you're driving and you cussed out your girlfriend on the way home, or, had hate in your heart for something, and then you got in a car crash and died. There are people who believe that you will go to hell because of that, because your last act was a sin. That's not what the gospel says. Okay. The gospel says your sins are covered under the blood of Jesus, and you're growing into the new man. So as long as you keep being made right with Jesus, keep going back to him, you will grow and become less sinful as you progress. That's how you see the real relationship with Jesus. You don't just like go to Jesus, be made right, and then every time you sin, you have to sit in repentance for 10 minutes, and so you don't go to hell. That's just not what Jesus gives us. He gives us an assurance of eternal life when we choose him. And so I just don't, but as far as homosexuals are concerned, I think it's a case-by-case basis, and only Jesus knows. I think we could make judgments. We could guess based on how they are and how, like, radical they're in it. But some people are legitimately homosexual because their father abused them, and that's what they were taught is right, or an uncle abused them. And so, like, is Jesus going to send that person to hell just because, like, they're still in the process of sanctification and that part of them hasn't been figured out yet? Like, I don't think that. So, it's just like, you gotta, like, we gotta stop being so quick to judge. We can judge thoughts. God gives us permission to judge thoughts, sin, and, beliefs, same as thoughts. We are given permission to judge those things. Ideologies. Okay. We're given permission to judge those things. We're not given permission to judge people. We're not. That's very clear in the Bible. So we're just not allowed to. Hope Thompson says, God told me he's not ready for the end to be here yet because he wants mercy for the people who aren't saved yet. So I'm excited for what he's going to do. Well, that's awesome. God told you that. He tells all of us that. He says that in 1 Peter. Peter says that God is not, he's not willing for anyone to perish, so he's patient. And what that means is God doesn't want anybody to go to hell. He's patient. He's going to give you the chance. And so God is infinitely patient. He's not in a hurry to end this world. You know what drives me nuts? When Christians are like, oh, God's in such a hurry to judge America. Look how far we're falling. Is he? Is he? You know how unbiblical that phrase is? It's crazy. God was not in a hurry to judge Sodom and Gomorrah. He sat down with Abraham, and Abraham got him down to 10 people. And God was like, cool, I'll go look. And then there wasn't even 10 righteous, so God destroyed it. But in America, we're 67% Christian. We have millions and hundreds of millions of Christians here. You think God's excited to destroy America when he would have saved Sodom for 10? Come on, that is so stupid. It's such a stupid belief system. But there's a lot of people who believe that. Johnny says repentance is action, not just thought. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. And what I'll say to that is that not everybody understands every single thing of right living the second they accept Jesus. So it takes time to grow. It does. Why does God say pray in private? Because he doesn't want us to be making a big show of it. But he's not saying always pray in private, but he wants you to have your own personal relationship with him. MAGA says, my faith and reporting a 20-cent drop in gas made your day. God bless you. Thank you, John. Thank you, guys. You guys are awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to call it, guys. This was a long show. You guys are awesome. Michael, I hope we're on good terms now. But anyways, you guys are the best. Bless you guys so much. Thank you. Hope you have a blessed weekend. Please pray for me as I drive back and forth to Georgia for safety, and also that I can bless my sister, and that I'm fully healthy come Monday, that this nasty thing's finally gone. But for everybody else and for our present and stuff going on, I will pray right now. So Heavenly Father, thank you for today. God bless everybody here, Lord, these amazing people. Thank you for them. Thank you for their support and just, God, all they do for me, the way they financially support me the way they support me. God, just encouraging, or even just showing up, hitting that like, subscribe. That is all of that is support. So I thank you for that. Bless them, Lord, in their days and weekends ahead, and with their family, friends, prosper them, all those stuff, Lord. And Lord, we pray for President Trump, God, and everybody fighting for us, that you would protect them, give them wisdom and courage going forward, and that you would bless our country to have more peace, justice, and prosperity than ever before. So just like in Proverbs, where a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children's children, we leave a better inheritance in country to our children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, just like good men do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Love you guys. Bless you so much. Thank you for everything, and have a great weekend. Goodbye. See you Monday.
Headlines screaming like a siren at night. Red and blue shouting, nobody's right. Smoke in the streets, truth under attack. Everybody's loud, nobody's got facts. Feeds keep scrolling, nerves stay tight.